Welcome back to the Rainbow Six Siege Jönköping Major here at DreamHack Winter. This is my very first time in Sweden. I've got to say I am having an absolute blast. We are speed running playoffs day one. We've already got W7M and Team Liquid waiting in the wings of the semi-finals, and I think it's time to book another spot. We have an all-EU banger coming your way right here, right now. And I'm going to bring two of our juggernaut teams onto this stage for you at home and you here live in our audience. First, some say they struggle in a best-of-3 environment, but they're about to prowl onto their third major of the year. Give it up for Wolves! Their opponents are one of the best teams to never raise a big trophy. Can their new man make a major difference? Welcome to the stage, BDS! Very shortly, these two EU teams will be battling it out on this stage for a spot in our major semi-final. Before they do, let's see them face to face.
I'm feeling very good. We play very good, and we are going to the playoff too, very confident and to win it also. We are Wolves. We are on top of the group. We beat everyone, and no one will beat us. We are here to win everything and win the major, guys. Watch out, guys, because the crazy one in the pack is hunting you.
I'm very happy. We got lucky on the group phase to qualify, but we are excited to play the playoff in Jönköping. We are ready. We did a little bit mistake on the phase group, but I think we will work on this mistake and try to do our best for the playoff. So guys, we got lucky this time, but be scared to fight against BDS. We are ready.
À tous les fans, merci beaucoup. Tout le soutien inconditionnel qu'on a des fans. Franchement, ça fait super chaud au cœur.
Thank you to everyone to support us, even in the hard day like day 2. I hope we will win everything on the playoff.
And there it is, both of our teams now up on the stage. BDS and Wolves, an all-EU matchup in Europe. Normally, that's something we're all looking forward to here. And I know we're still on Friday, but people are very happy about having this sort of matchup because we get to talk about two teams that we know very well. I'm Alex the Medic, your host. With me, the two analysts are going to help me tell the tale of these two squads, number 1 and 2 of Europe, and Alpha Ma. Friends, how are we doing?
Very good, very good.
It's been a good day. How's your first day on the job?
I mean, I loved it. I loved it. I had so much fun. I'm ready to continue.
And?
I'm doing really good too. We've just had a very quick matchup. I hope that the other matchups will take a little longer. I love a good full three maps matchup. So
Well,
keep my fingers crossed for it.
Maybe with more regional matches, we'll get things closer. The top two teams in EU and later the top two teams in NA. Let's focus then on BDS versus Wolves. And I say the top two teams in EU even more than that, the top 2 French teams that always go up against one another in the French final, and always coming out on top is Wolves in only France. However, in EU League and in traditional competition, it's BDS that wins it out. A lot of rivalries in here, Afama.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rivalry really is the key word here. Not only do they fight to be the best team in France, they fight to be the best team in EU, and they fight to be the best chance for Europe to win a major title. And at the same time, it's also 2 French-speaking projects with a limited talent pool that had very different visions, right? So they want to prove which one is the best project.
Yeah, and these teams obviously know each other, right? They played against each other in EUL quite a few times, and all these games were won by BDS. But the funny thing is, after BDS made that switch up with the player in their lineup, bringing Likefek in, that's when they actually started to struggle a little bit more against Wolves, because that was a more difficult time for them. 2 of those matches were also on Clubhouse, and we know both these teams often like to visit Clubhouse.
True, very true. So maybe we can expect that later on in our maps. Who knows? Let's focus then on Wolves first. Alfama, you know both of these teams very well overall for this here, but seeing the fact that they went for Oregon first, does this surprise you?
No, not at all. Actually, I guessed they were going to pick Oregon. I'm happy I was right. The thing is, BDS isn't really good on Oregon so far. I mean, in EUL, I think they lost it twice already, and Oregon is a good map for Wolves. So it made sense that if BDS lets it through, and they didn't really have a choice, Wolves would pick it, because BDS, Ben, Chalet, and Villa, right? Both are super strong maps for Wolves and weak maps for BDS. So it's not surprising to see Oregon being picked by Wolves here.
No, I wasn't surprised by the Kafe pick from BDS either. It might even be their best map this tournament so far, because they have victories against Fury and SSG. It's, however, the worst map for Wolves, you could say. They have a loss against FaZe in the group stage on this map, and it also had their worst defensive win rate on a map like Kafe, where it really matters to get as many defensive wins in a row. Both teams don't really bend this map, though, during this tournament, and BDS also have a 3-game win streak on this map.
And if we take a look at the decider, right, Bank, I would say slightly favors BDS, like 100% win rate, super strong map for them. It's also a strong map for Wolves, but in the end, I think it's equal matchup, really strong opponents on really good maps for both of them.
Okay, for focusing on map 1, how do you see this going? Our lobbies seem to be ready, so I want to hear your thoughts on all of this.
Well, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So one thing I'm really looking forward to is what we've seen from Wolves, and what we love to talk about is their opportunity seeking. Even if they're down in men count on attacking rounds, they will still find ways to, well, breach the holes in the gap of the defense and plant a diffuser and win out rounds where you think, wow, they're really in a disadvantage, but they still win it. Also on their defenses, there were rounds on Villa where the diffuser was going to go down, there was no more utility, and then they go for a flank and they still win it.
Yeah, that opportunity seeking, that's mainly, I think, on P4. It's one of his strong suits. He's really good at this. And Oregon is a pretty good map to do it. I remember so many times I see him like having a hidden drone somewhere and just calling a rush on Oregon. You can do this very quickly with the windows. So maybe we're going to see that.
All right, very excited then to see some crazy EU strategies in this game. Thank you very much, Alfama, and thank you so much. And it's time for us to get this game on the road. We got Happen sitting in the backdrop there, awaiting this match to begin. So how about we get it started? It's BDS versus Wolves.
Bonjour, Jönköping. We find ourselves here for what is going to be that EU showdown that maybe we didn't want, but hey, there's going to be a lot of stories here. I'm Fluke, that's Hap. This is Wolves BDS.
It's going to be an exciting game. There is so much history between these two. I even went over the stats of the last 2 years. You can guess how many rounds are between the two. Just a single one.
Look at us.
A single round over the past 14 maps.
Hey, that big, Tim.
Take that.
Okay, but
enormous Emmy and Hap.
Out of all the stories that we've had from these teams, out of all the stories that we've had from any of these teams, this truly is a match that goes back across the eras. This truly is a series that goes to the start of it. France was once a top dog in Rainbow Six.
They once were.
Is this the time for the Wolves?
That is going to be that big question. You mentioned it. It is going to be, as Alfama said as well, a rivalry for past, present, and future. Everything is going on. Every single generation is being represented in these two teams. So the first band coming through is going to be Ying. We are back with the cheers.
They followed us from Berlin.
They followed us with, yeah.
I don't know if you guys at home can hear the crowd, but there
should be a...
We hear it, and we're like hidden behind the stage, miles away.
And the Valkyrie finally... I mean, they're definitely making a lot of noise, doing their best to be picked up, so... We hear it. We appreciate it. Keep it up. As we're headed towards the laundry for the first round. Again, these two teams, they know each other through and through. They've played each other so many times before. Oregon has been played twice, won twice by Wolves as well. Over those 2 times, it is a 5v14 in terms of score. So BDS, they really need to be making sure that they put in a dent into Wolves' confidence here, because they do not want to be instantly a map down.
Okie dokie. Let's get the start on this and see if we get a full stretch of a couple of games, because as you said, there's fun statistics about the fact that these two teams have played each other just so often across, okay, a couple of different iterations on rosters and performances. Yes. You said there was only about a round difference.
Yeah, so in total it is 86 to 85 over the 14 maps they played. So there is an opportunity now to either extend that lead or to take it from them. But more importantly, what both these teams will be aiming for is to take that first map, to find themselves a leg up towards that semi-final, which they'll play against their yet-to-be-decided NA team.
The fight starts here. Down towards the basement hole, there's a pretty standard stretch of BDS players, control of the tower. They're not going to overextend because they know about those overextensions. Instead, they've gone up the opposite way. Don't play deep on the big tower, play a little bit low and close to the fire freezer on small. They're going to rotate back. They're forcing the extension, forcing Wolves to have to try and hunt the players and waste a bit of time. If anything, this is maybe the game that Wolves didn't want the most. They've not been able to take a map from BDS for a long time, obviously with a couple of roster differences, but still, this is going to be the start. Rise descends down the back stairs, gets the first take on Renshiro, pops a grenade to buy himself some safety of one route, and the second doesn't show.
That's the opening. It's very early as well. Only a minute has passed, and now the Wolves, you know, they can bring it back slightly, start working on opening up these hatches, clearing out these roamers, truly up the amount of pressure that BDS will experience. He has been downed, slowly crawling back up. He's waiting for some support to come through. Not quite sure what happened. Did he fall down?
He fell. He fell. I was like, the only way that's happened is someone sprayed through Attic, or he's fallen. He's fallen. Attic, it's clear. And Rise is just going to double check that as they get themselves the rest of the map. But look at the fact that we got a minute 30 left. Now, they'll have no idea that Bibu's taken himself to such a low precipice, but you got Mowgli putting pressure onto Freezer. Shinka, he's doing the busybody work of a man who knows how to play, that accessory to the role. It's a great conversation we had with Alfama, actually, about this specific showdown. Great to have him and great to get that insight towards the French siege. It really is a game of rivalries. You have, arguably, 2 of the best support players in the world. Who's going to take the throne? 2 of the best rookies in the world. 2 of the best old-time gunners. Now's the time to put that pressure to it. The pressure hits the back of Shaiko. Shaiko himself tries to apply it, strike back, looks, swings towards barrel, but tucks himself in.
Slowly waiting, drones rolling through. They're hoping to find an extra opening, but as the smoke canisters are coming down, the time from the elbow, from the barrels, is going to be limited here from Wolves. So they need to find a way in. They need to start dropping and take out Shaiko. Now, there's going to be a small opening made by the Excaliburs. It's going to be making his life a little bit more difficult, and as the grenade's about to be popping around the corner as well, Shaiko, he's ready to fight.
30 seconds, and they are holding on in this war for attrition, but the hot drops is going to come from the box in just a second. They pushed the pressure onto Shaiko. He's rotating his way around as they lose blue. He can't quite get the cement on the fight, but he's got to know. Mowgli has the cover, has the drop. They've taken Pillar. Likefak, he is the big one to watch, and there he is. Watch instantly locked down on the swing of blue. They're tucked onto the side. Wolves get us the first, and look how much it means.
A very clean first round. Besides the slip-up we had from Bibu from the big tower towards the bottom of the staircase. You know, recovered, and they managed to go for a very clean execute there. Very uncharacteristically there from Shaiko to miss that many shots onto Renshiro. That might be that first round jitters playing on the stage again after having been gone for a bit. Also the rising amount of pressure that was being put upon them by Wolves. That's 1-0. The attack leading in strong. And as we now head towards the top floor, BDS not deciding to go back down just yet.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yes.
Keep your rotate game fresh. It's the start of a long series. It's the start of a long day. It's maybe the start of a long rise to a tournament. The last time we saw a French team escape quarterfinals was way back in Mexico.
It's a long, long while ago.
In a place far, far away.
It's a place far, far away as well here from Sweden. Probably a lot more warm as well as it is right now. But
it's still a little bit chilly. It's a little bit chilly here in Jönköping.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I guess Mexico was definitely warmer than it right now. Either way, Lem's up in T3. He's going to be trying to put up some pressure. Give himself a way to protect the armory staircase as well. And with that, give some cover out to Renshiro.
Here it is. The start of that exact pressure. They're trying to find their way through onto Trophy, going for a pretty locked-in take here onto Armory. And BDS, they don't have the best sort of history here on this map. There isn't really a history from the side of Wolves. There's a bit of a surprise factor coming out in terms of this tier and level of competition here, and they're going to see if they can try and utilize that and find that first round. The pullback here, the pressure. They have the extension of BDS all the way up to T3 with the Overwatch, which means Armory Corridor cannot be freely played in as of this moment. With that player tucked miles and miles away, he's got to look down. I'm going to assume it's a Lens because he does like to be in T3, so they've got to do this pressure with a bit of long arm.
Well-placed RC there. That got a ADS and that shield.
Thank you.
So that's a lot of utility taken out, which means that they now have a bit of a clearer way into Trophy. Lems will have to fall back as well because he knows there's not going to be anything he can do as of just yet. Is still staying in tower though, so he can horizontally try and punish that window if they do use it.
Look at Bibu. He's keeping an eye. He's going to put pressure onto tower. He's going to try and find a fight on the far end himself. He knows that there's a player up there. Rise is offering some support. Lems cannot sit and play because this happens. The swing on the window, back and forth. Lems, he's not even going to try and tuck in the reinforcement on the wall. He knows the danger's there, regardless of whether it's in pocket. He's buying himself time. Takes the drop, takes the rotate, and takes his way out of there. He could go for the double all the way down if he wanted to, but he's actually out of impact, in fact. So no, that is not a route he can take. Instead, caught in one drone. There's a second that was tucked, actively being watched, but that would have got the read on that. He's just trying to draw focus away as they need to focus onto the site.
He hopes to be that distraction force, right? He needs to make sure someone comes and hunts him, but Wolves not really wanting to give in to that as of just yet. Drones now rolling through the site, trying to find out where these players are going to be located, what exactly is going to be strongly held onto by BDS. A missed grenade opportunity there is going to be potentially costing them dearly in the terms of the utility that's out there, but as Lems gets taken now by Bibu from the hatch, now they know they don't have to worry about someone below.
Push is turning into shove here, and Renshiro shoves back. There's Shaiko and Bride with one apiece. They're trying to find the kill onto the big double window. The pings are there, and Mowgli and Rise either side are trying to find the fight and fishing for it inside the site. The swing. Rise is able to actually take care of Bride. Mowgli is in such a dangerous zone. He doesn't know where anybody else is, but they don't have the kit. They have the bodies on the top. There it is, though, somehow. Within about half of a second, BDS almost lost two, but then bit back the one that counted.
I was going to say, I'm so confused because it was two players on the white stairs. How was that one extra player from Wolves allowed to swing that widely onto the kid's bedroom, get away with the kill, and almost have the opportunity to make the 180 and start pressuring that white stairs? Either way, equal up the score. BDS will find the top floors headed back towards the basement. Not wanting to go towards the meeting first. Laundry up next. Remember, last time as well, the entry lost here by BDS. After that, Wolves able to put pressure onto Shaiko's spot, where surprisingly Shaiko was playing, and then they just managed to roll over from the rest of the site. So it is important for BDS to hold on to these strong positions. Do not lose that early fight, and make sure you fight back a little bit earlier.
Back on to Laundry for the second wash cycle and see if you can really get those stains out in a hold that did not quite connect here. It was a push that lost an early body with just a bit of a broad swing onto the bottom of tower, and then hesitated, waited, burnt things, manipulated the play space, and actually made the push sort of come to a shove at 40 seconds. Hey, Rise, what are you doing?
Playing on that blitz, hoping to put up some pressure.
I just see a blitz and I'm like, I see a blitz on this site and I look for a Gon 6 and a Finker and a Sumo Rush. The other bits aren't there, so it's not going to happen. He's going to try and play himself a bit of a blockade, maybe force some movement. It gives you some route on a swing. The 0 you don't see too commonly here, but it allows this. Look at that, being able to find your way through. They didn't get the cleanest read though, and Likifac's in a position where if they go off of that intel, assuming it is 100% gospel, they'll quickly learn that sometimes those songs aren't quite correct.
Now, talking back about the blitz here, I think that Rise will be used, for example, to get rid of Shaiko in that Shaiko position. He's headed towards the barrels as well. He has that shield in front of him. All he needs to do is to be crossing that first obstacle, which would be the shield and elbow. 3T3 that's about to be taken together with T2 from Wolves. They will be making sure that there's going to be no roamers to worry about. And after that, again, a minute only has passed and they have so much control already. They can start working themselves towards the actual site, start putting pressure down upon the players and the anchors out there.
Now, we've still got a blitz, not entirely dormant, but ready to maybe try and put pressure onto Brede, who you assume is playing on that blue extension. To do that, though, with the holes the BDS do, you've got to root out Shaiko, you've got to try and dig them from a situation. Oregon, as a map itself, as we said, it's something that BDS find themselves on probably a little bit more than they like to. They still haven't quite found the way to get it properly connected.
Last 2 times I played against Wolves, it also went against them, so that is something they are aware of. This is why we headed towards the map pick, and it was picked by Wolves. Help to make sure that they put themselves on 1-0 here. Impact's being used there, hoping to get rid of it. That is going to be a grenade used, actually, to get rid of the barricade. Potentially other pieces of utility around. And look at that, Rise, he's starting to eye up. They want to go for it, but the cover needs to be there. And I think he's headed toward elbow as Mowgli's covering back.
And that's why he's played himself so far back. He doesn't want to give away the distinctive sound of a man that goes ka-chunk, 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 as it rolls all the way through onto the station of the site. There is the movement. There's the play on the grenade. Right all the way deep in the site. Shaiko wins out, though. Suddenly, he is in absolute no man's land. Likifac and P4 and Likifac again over the back end. They're able to lock it out. The blitz is entirely lost. Offers some support round onto the Shaiko swing. 37 seconds. And there's a shotgun tucked on a corner. It's a pretty tough fight for anyone to take. He's behind you! Likifac's able to find his third there. P4 knows where he is. Gets almost a freebie down to the corridor. Hopes that they swing back round. He's low. He's slow. He's all around.
BDS played in contact there in the end. They knew exactly they had to push them. They managed to hold off. But we have to mention that basement, it is tough to attack. It is tough to break through. It's just portrayed there. They hoped that the cover was strong enough. They hoped that they were able to find Shaiko as the blitz ran in as a bit of a distraction move, whilst also clearing out the smoke player, of course, but didn't quite work out. Now, still under attack, still 3 more opportunities to pick up rounds, but it is BDS that is leading. Was probably not too happy with that, but they also know it's by no means lost yet.
One of those things that you can sort of compare when you have a team at this point after escaping groups and a team of how they got there is generally how the performances of the teams have changed. Obviously, your stats will generally be a little bit better from the league play to get you here because theoretically you're up against easier opponents. You beat the teams to get the seat on the plane. Now you got to beat all the teams that also did the same in their region. However, one of the biggest differences that we've seen from the side of BDS is Shaiko. He's got a negative KD, which is a really rare statement to make about a player of his caliber. He's -4 at the start of this play day. He was +16 to get them on the back. That sort of duo of him and Likifac was a big drive. Alems has stepped up massively in that position, but if Shaiko finds a way to activate throughout this series, it's something to keep an eye on.
It's kind of what you want to see from a team as well, though, right? I mean, Shaiko has been a name we've been shouting for ages, but it cannot always just be him. The rest of the team needs to be there as well. And back, you know, early iterations of BDS, we saw Shaiko not perform, team wasn't quite there. That has fixed itself over the last iteration, especially Likifac joining the fray. BDS is a completely different team. Everybody able to completely frag out the opposing team members. And that's kind of what makes them a dangerous team. On the other hand, we have Wolves, where also everybody's able to show up when they need to. But the one thing with Wolves is that online they do super well. The groups, they do quite alright as well. But then playoffs is usually where it kind of starts to, well, slack off a little bit. So we kind of hope to see that change where they are now able to make that next step happen.
Case in point, potentially Shinka being the top player and 6 clutches in groups to get them to this. Second best player throughout the series. Him not having an impact. If we're going to look towards the possibility of BDS being lifted by 1, Shinka dropping off could be a bad one, but we'll get to that. As the series progresses here, for now, it's progressing its way towards a take, potentially eyeing up Kitchen. Instead of the small tower take, which we often see where you force a lot of a battle over the top, instead they're going to go for the Dawn swing instead. Mowgli, he's trying to catch some grenade kills from underneath towards Zulu in Classroom. He's looking for the stretch now. P4's putting the pressure over the top. Rise and Bibu, they're making their way. And it's just this, a war of utility.
The Kima Bears really making it difficult right here, but an angle is being watched. Rise misses the opportunity. Shaiko picks him up beautifully. Now he's trying to put up more pressure towards Games, but the entry frag is going to be theirs. And that means they have the opportunity to fall off. The Kima Bear again used, will be punched out, means that the pressure is still on. The second player has jumped into the pit. Shaiko's hurt that. He's going aggressive. He will find Bibu, go for the next swing, but it's going to be a leak effect that helps him. It's the French duo, the fragging duo, that will win this round for them.
Well, Shinka, maybe I shouldn't have spoke. Now you have all the pressure for the biggest clutch you would have pulled off this whole tournament versus a player that's just got a double kill who I said we want to see activate. There's a third for him, as if the point needed the punctuation of action. Oh dear.
That is an oh dear. Well done by Shaiko there initially. Realizing the game, or at least the drop near the attic, needing to take control of that, and then realizing a second player has dropped into there, going aggressive without giving them too much space. And that is kind of the danger of BDS. When Likafak and Shaiko are activated like they are, they realize someone's out there, the confidence is going to be there, they will swing you, they will try and take you out in those positions. And that worked out. Handicapped the Wolves in that round, and thus attack break has been called. Only 20 seconds left for them to discuss. You see Lee Loon very busy on the microphone there.
I mean, it's the same, I think, across both these teams. They all know how almost there's a weird amount of pressure onto this game. The way the bracket drawing went, thanks Parker and Pengu,
yeah, if you need to blame anybody, it's them.
is you do really have to prove that you're the best of the best. You have to prove that you are the top dog. Wolves, because of their frequency at majors throughout this year, even though obviously Rogue are the only EU team to pull that sort of trophy, there is a buzz about Wolves. There is a buzz that often dies off around the state, but there's still a buzz there. They're up against a team that was one of the teams that did beat them, handed them one of their 2 losses, pushed them into a situation, you know, where they weren't quite able to come into this with the same sort of unbeaten vigor that they had before. Technically, they had more clean wins than BDS, but BDS's tenacity and ability during the split to get to OT and force the game, that's something that could come up as a bit of a nightmare here for Wolves.
It could definitely be. We'll find out as we progress. Again, the next 2 maps do slightly favor BDS. This map does favor Wolves. But, you know, it wouldn't be international play if we don't see each other's map picks to be led in or even taken by the opposing team. So even if BDS managed to continue here on this half, it is not going to be over yet. Quick access, though, into the armory from P4, hoping to do what he usually does best, which is to just drive himself in, see if he can isolate one of those players, instantly take them down, and after that, Wolves can play with the man advantage. But the last 2 rounds, they haven't had the opportunity of the entry kill. That's a Selma quickly tossed in, instantly taken out. They now realize there's going to be a mistake, or at least some problems on that first floor they need to deal with first.
Yeah, BDS sort of flexing themselves across all 4 sides. Maybe they hope to try and take a little bit of the wind out of the wings. They assumed the timeout talk might have been built around how to retake dorms, how to go to a site that was successful first swing. It's a very solid site, and they know BDS only have the choice of 2 more. BDS, they've gone for a bit of a risky play. They've gone for the gamble of, well, let's see if we can truly stretch them. Let's try and maybe put a little bit of doubt in that timeout and the approach afterwards, and now it's down to Wolves to see if they can beat that defining factor. There's a close play shotgun on the swing. They don't have a direct route through. They don't have the traditional take on this, which is that Ossa backline, and then seeing if you can waste and wait out any smokes, or potentially the man with the magical glasses in the pockets of Renshiro. So instead, Wolves are trying to force a fight, and it's not really being given to them.
I mean, what I wanted to go for first was just right in from Garage into the lobby, open it up. Maybe you can get a plant off and split before anybody realizes, but Mew Jammers were out there, so unable to actually pull that off. That means they now need to play the actual puzzle that BDS has created and crafted for them very carefully. And that is where a lot of time already has been wasted. If you look at the clock, 1 minute, 10 seconds left. They've only just opened up the attic. There's still no entry to be gained anywhere. And they just hope to, well, find themselves a way in. Where's that Selma going? Is that the
If that hits the hatch, that would be very impressive, but there is Renshiro around there. Okay, it went through.
Oh, the end on the shield. Or was that a grenade?
I think that was
don't know.
a grenade, because I don't think the loop of that would have got it. Either way, here it goes. They're going for the fight around the corner, the swing and the practice and the pressure. They're going to see if they can try and pull out this shotgun player. Alems has pulled himself back. He's ready to step back in, though. It's Rise with the pre-fire and the positioning now. That wall has been opened, and as pointed out, it's very clever, actually. Use it to get rid of ADSs. That's why they were going for it. It's very much easy. There it is, though, Shaika. He makes it look a little bit easy. Mowgli taken out, hasn't quite been able to get the full connection with this game. Still a little bit of a back and forth. Here's Likefak, though. He's definitely one that has 5-2-1. He's looking to try and add some more numbers onto the back of that P4. 20 seconds. What are you going to do from the pressure on the back? Try and apply something. They're toying up the idea. They don't have any pressure onto the back line. Shaiko's ready to swing from Split itself as the blinds come out. Do they know about Likefak? I don't think they do, but they're probably about to get taught a very mean lesson in checking corners. Rise finds Shaiko, Likefak finds the kit, Bibu gets the trade off. But it's BDS to put themselves 4 up.
I'm just going to be pointing it out. Well done by BDS there. Well done by Shaiko and Likefak holding on to that meeting. However, Attic, under control, they could jump through. Hatch opened up. That's what you usually take care of to make sure that those corners are going to be cleared out and to put some pressure down onto Shaiko, who is here on the back line, just swinging time and time again. They got punished for it by not using that verticality that they took themselves just momentarily earlier. So a bit of a questionable move there coming in from Wolves, but either way, well done by BDS. Well punished onto those mistakes and find themselves extending their lead 1-4. As mentioned, the last couple of times these two teams played, BDS has always won it, and for now, seemingly running away with it.
It's Wolves have a caution to their game. They're sort of struggling to get the true connection, whether it's the weight of being in a position they know has often gone away from them, whether it's the game being played against them by BDS, whether it's some of the sparking to life for some of these players that, to be honest, if we talk about how this pressure might impact Wolves, it's almost the opposite side for BDS. A couple of their big names struggled to get in. They only really made it here because of 2 rounds that were taken by another team in a showdown. It is this sort of split of an idea of, oh, this is common ground. This is a common taste. I'm familiar with this. I know how to play against these teams. It allows players like Renshiro, like Shaiko, who have struggled to connect with this tournament so far to reset.
Yeah, they played each other over 14 maps in the last 2 years, so you know if there is 2 teams that know each other, it's definitely going to be D's. Of course, next together with the LATAM teams coming through. By the way, the tower's being droned out, hoping to see if it is going to be clear. Of course, the basement again under attack. This time no blitz coming out from Wolves. They want to go for a bit more of a standard take. So the 0 coming out, I think that might be useful for potential flame camps to be set up as well when they are actually working on opening up these hatches, for example. Actually be able to get a zap or 2 off as well, maybe Vulcan canisters or other piece of utility as Rise. Challenging the pillar, but not quite finding anything just yet.
Yeah, there's still a familiar hold here. The positions of BDS don't change too much. And, well, for that on the side of Wolves, they're not going to go for the change take they had the second time around. Mowgli's still watching onto Freezer. They've had some attention paid here towards Laundry. BDS don't really like to swing out on this map. They sort of say, well, we've got the hold, we've got the handle, we've got that sort of rotation from Shaiko possibly, and we can try and pull ourselves back to Freezer if we need to. They're happy to trust what they have. Here's where the difference might be made. They're sort of trying to bait the swing and saying, come on, try and take them off. There's at least 1 that gets caught out, 2, but now that still makes it a bit awkward for Shaiko.
Yeah, they can now bounce a grenade through or any other piece of utility like flashbangs, which will desperately blind him and allow the players on the staircase to actually start pushing him. Shaiko's feeling the pressure as well. There's 2 players in barrels, 2 on the back stairs, and 1 is eyeing up the hatch drop, so surely within seconds now the execute is coming through.
That's it, the swing goes out onto Barrel. Shaiko gets one just before he sees nothing. Rise with a pre-spade, but it's round the back and Renshiro gets two. Shaiko gets his second. Bibu finds one, but he's got a lot ahead of him to get the rest of this round, and they have rotated close. There's the first fight, the smoke canister. It's a Lems though, and BDS sit 5-1 up after the first half of Wolves' map.
The aggression coming out there as soon as they realized, okay, there is going to be that small gap in the Shaiko corner now. Flashbangs will start to come through. And as soon as they do, Shaiko knew he would be screwed because they'd be coming down from the hatch shop, they would be coming down from the stairs and from the barrels all at the same time. So he made a decision, an executive decision. And he's like, you know what, I'll just swing into barrels. I'll just make sure that those players are not going to be able to push me. I suddenly have an extra wall between myself and the other couple of players that might be trying to hunt me down. And you find yourself in a 1-5 lead as BDS suddenly over Wolves, who picked this map with the knowledge that, historically speaking, they are quite good on this versus BDS. Now they're trailing by a massive amount. Over to the defense they go. They will be headed towards the basement themselves, hoping to turn the tide here and start the comeback.
They really have no other option. They've got to try and take as much as possible before BDS even have a whiff of a round here. They want to see if they can try and force it to OT. Obviously, for the record, in the recent sprint, BDS has generally been able to take care of Wolves, even when there was one difference, maybe two, depending on how far you decide to keep your records. It was an OT that game. It was a stretch and a stress, and you know, Wolves have bit back from behind before. It's just tough when you only have the game ahead of you. Alems, he's set up potentially to get a bit of a drive here towards the top of T3. He knows that a player might be around there though, and as soon as he gets a whiff of P4, I think he's going to opt not to go for it. There's P4 with the fight, and you assume you're not going to hear the zip up from Alems anytime soon.
Yeah, he needs a bit of support before he decides to head up towards Tower 3, or at least have the information that the current Wolves players are not going to be out there able to challenge him. Actually just goes for it, realizes they are downstairs. Now he's going to be able to put up the pressure truly upon these players that are at the bottom of the tower. Also the attic, if anybody chooses to go there.
Yeah, not sure if he got a call just in the perfect timing there of when the players came down or not, but either way, it worked very much in his favor. From the second they're on the swing to going all the way back up, Likefat, here's some pressure put on him, and there's the drop of the Razor Bloom. Doesn't quite get him through. They're on the hunt for these loose players. And the reveal will still say, well, they're kind of around the place you thought they were. It does give away a lot of that utility they'd put. The very far extent of those mirror windows, the sort of exploration of the rest of the map is cut away quite quickly. Likefac's just going to dig his way through here, but with the open hatches now, they're around the same pace as what was put on them before, with what seems like all of the players shepherded downstairs.
Now, there was quite a bit of a mid-floor roam, as you just saw, and normally that does waste quite a lot of time. I mean, it's 1 minute 20 left now compared to 2 minutes that Wolves had earlier. However, hatches have been opened up for them already, so they do not need to open each and every single one of them, just the other two on the map. And that basically leaves them in the same place as they were before. Nothing really lost, nothing gained. I mean, some mirror windows already out of play because they were on that middle floor, so less utility eventually to worry about here for BDS.
A minute on, and the pressure and the calls start to come on the rotation down on Freezer. There's Shaiko. He's about to go for a swing. He's been having a great connection so far, but Rise, I don't know if he just went for the adventure for the drone, but he's able to punish it. Renshiro, he's tucked above with 2 grenades. Whether he tries to sort of cut one close, it doesn't seem like he's intent on doing that as of this moment. Oh no. So I'm wrong. And he's instead going to utilize that as cover for the rotation. 30 seconds. And we start to hear the smoke canisters pop. The single player place just tucked onto blue. The fight of EFAC on the back stairs as Mowgli hears the drop and they pull back. He steps back in. It's Renshiro with a team kill, but he does get dropped on the opposite end. They're downed inside, round on the swing, and they hit the ground, but it's Wolves.
Well done
They got
there.
the pieces.
They got the pieces indeed. They managed to take the control back, which they lost earlier. And basically, Rise started that off already in the freezer, right? I mean, you said, I'm not sure if he went for the drone or if he just meant to do that. Maybe that's the bit of aggression they needed to lean back into that fight. Do not give them everything for free. See if you can maybe make life difficult a bit. And that gives them that second round. Now, round differential isn't anything anymore in playoffs. It is literally going to be map losts or 1. If you lose 2, you will be out. And it doesn't matter if it is a 2-7 or if it's an 7-8 loss. It's all treated the same here now.
That is how it works.
Yes. So there's also no points made for 6.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm just saying, like, it's a different kind of mental that you now have, because there is no, there's always the next game, because if you lose, there is no more next game. Up to the top floor. Wolves continuing the rotation because they will be forced to, not because they had no choice.
10 seconds to go.
And as they push in, that shield on the attic, that is going to be aimed towards the armory hallway and staircase. So I think that's where they hope BDS will be attacking from, because you have that little bit of extra security out there, which makes it more difficult. And it's in such a position where you cannot really get a grenade through easily either. So it requires a bit of coordination for BDS to clear that out. So maybe they hope to force them to go for a different approach that way.
BDS, they were quite quick on their close down in terms of, as we said, shepherding and forcing the players. It's a little bit of a different story now because, well, there's technically more to clear, there's more to bite back, and there's more of a reason for Wolves to try and bite back and keep the pressure further and further out. You can see Bibu was doing just that, slips his way past as BDS go for a steady clear across small tower. We once again saw Alems eyeing up the top of big tower as well. The position, as I said, on defense he loves to play. He's going to see if he can try and prove that on the other side. Kitchen is being droned out. The pressure here is about to hit server, but the hatch is open. If nobody's there to catch P4, he should be able to get a free rotate as this starts to explode underneath the feet of the players.
Second grenade to be used. Waiting for some good pings to come in, realizes, hey, the hatch is open, I can just arc it in that way, don't have to bounce back off the floorboards. That goes through, but explodes a bit too early.
Yeah, a bit too sharp there, and you can see a little bit of a panic movement of the player inside. As I said, this is where they take the drop. Goodbye P4. They didn't have anyone in the position, but they do force this, the fight all the way up to the top of white. They're hitting the Banshee, there'll be the call, and there's a strike right back. The grenade goes, and so does Alems. He's in, he's swinging, and he pulls out the gun just in time. P4 gets one off the back of it. P4 finds a second. Shaiko's on the ground. There's a third for P4. There is one more for Bibu. Brede, he's looking for the fight. He can't find the angle, gets the freebie fighting his way out, but the reveal is he's now outside of the site, and the remaining 3 Wolves players, they're tucked in, watching. They know exactly where he is, where he's been, and what he's got to do, and that is that unfortunate situation of clutch.
Now Brede, we've seen him in many clutch situations before, and he's about to find a first, but doesn't quite commit to it. The challenge is coming through, pre-fires as well from the defenders. They are just trying to stall time with everything they have. Now playing on contact of each other, Brede runs through. It's gonna get flanked, doesn't hit the shot. Rice will find him, and that puts us up to 5-3. Wolves climbing back into the game here, realizing this is their map. They've chosen this for a reason.
It's one of the things that, you know, you want to look back and see a little bit later on is just how that triple kill came about. Was it the drop down the hatch, the rotate round on the back end, a strike maybe around Zulu where they didn't expect it?
Or a combination from multiple different factors. I mean, Shaiko went down first on his attempted take towards the white stairs, and
it was the last to be put down.
He was the last to be put down, that's for sure. Then at the same time, you have the repel in from Alems, which definitely caused some chaos. So there was really fights going on everywhere at the side at once.
I think it was.
Yeah, the loop around indeed.
The loop around. I did a physical gesture, which you can't see.
Yeah, so I'll translate it to words.
Yeah. Right, Wolves. This is the hardest one. As we said at the start of this half, being 5-1 down on a map like Oregon, it's going to be the tertiary sites. These are going to be the make or break ones that sort of pull things away. BDS were technically successful. Okay, they played all 4. It's hard to sort of dictate which one is, and they lost their very open opener. But then since then took it back a couple more times. So you have that sort of room of growth. Here though, if you take the first 2, this is where you sort of, whether you want to or not, have expectations.
P4 hiding near small tower. Hoping to find some drones on the way out. 9 left, so plenty of information here for BDS to work with. Together with the RC Roteros, of course, it's going to be making another 4, but those will blow up at some point. That's a spot down on a player headed back towards the attic, so they know Rise is out here, or has been out there. Potentially the entire tower now abandoned, so remaining drones will confirm that. And that's kind of the danger, right, of this hold that they need to come up against. There is an offside. The offside will be going into tower. This is exactly what BDS wants. You You've just abandoned it. You're not going to try and hold on to it.
Well, that's it. Remember when I sort of said this is that default take, that default bit of pressure, the one that we did not see from Wolves, and they almost seemed a little bit surprised as to how they could approach the rest of the site. At least BDS have this, a step-by-step basis in this. Renshiro watching at the top of the stairs, making sure they have some clearance over Attic, then they can try and go for the drive here. There's nobody immediately swinging into the fight as Shaiko's done this, tucked himself close. He's hoping they try and go for a trick and he goes unchecked, but they know they're not going to. Is he going to go for a break and a broach? He's so curious about what he wants to do because he's like, how did I get here and how do they not know? Do they know?
Might have heard that jump in, but now the big question is, will they find the player, Bibu, in the corner just hiding with that shotgun, potentially being able to swing out at whatever given second? Because there is a drone ult that will be more bordering his position. That's a grenade to fly through, but won't find a keeper barrier, and that keeps BDS guessing for now.
Jinka gets the first, Shaiko fights back. EFAC gone, and that was around the kitchen door coverage. Bride, he's going to try and stick the plant. They have the C4 over the top, and it gets caught on the corner, so Bride, he's able to stick it out. They don't have the cover, but they do get a lens on the backboard, and Jinka finds Bride. The kit's cold, though, and it is a no man's land. They've got to try and maybe put some pressure onto Attic, go for a long rotate, or this. Force the fight directly across the board. That's dangerous. They have themselves the stretch. Renshiro, he's above. He's thinking about whether he goes for the take. There's the movement. It should be watched in coverage. He pre-fires the wrong place. They're just able to get it off.
Verticality not prepared there by BDS. Big mistake. They've got the Attic under control. They've got the pre-plan done. The shield was set up to watch the Attic as well. As the howls come out once more.
It's dang furries.
Just called all their fans furries. Is that
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. BDS is taking a timeout. As makes sense, as I said, the importance in that tertiary site. It's not just the expectation of Wolves if this will be our biggest bit of pressure. It's a BDS's, this should be the one that we take. This should be the one that puts us onto map point and sort of changes up the face of the game. You want to have it as early as possible, don't get me wrong. But you have to look at, you know, it's like the graph. It's like the something meets find out. I'm not going to swear on broadcast. That's the tertiary site.
The word that Hibana uses for making a breach.
Look at that. Look at the cute little mascot.
Cute little mascot, come down.
Unbranded.
Time about to be running out. That means we're getting back into the game. Both these teams suffered from the same issue on the meeting take. Neither used Attic to their advantage.
Nope.
And if BDS did earlier, they would have also been able to clear out Bibu, who was able to put up some good shots on the board. So again, not quite sure what's going on. Maybe they didn't have time to drone it. Maybe they didn't have time or pressure or confidence to take it fully under control. But it cost them, and it cost Wolves themselves as well. So if we do head back there, I surely hope that BDS is going to be able to make some better use of that Attic, because it is just crucial for a take like that. You cannot just leave it to the side. You need to give it some love. Helps you out so much.
It does. Now, as I sort of highlighted at the time, you know, there was an assumption of sights. Yes, BDS, I would say, in their infinite wisdom, tried to throw themselves away from it. Same sort of thing, except they've played into it. Wolves, they're not going to sort of try and change things up. They know that they need to keep on course. Why sort of alter that for now? They won this last time round. It was scrappy. It came down to a hot drop on the site and a fight around Pillar itself, but it often does, so...
Very heavy roam here currently from Wolves. I mean, we even have a roaming Mirror. It's not often you see that happen.
They're not quick, Mirror.
It's not very quick, no. It's going to take a long time to get back towards the site. But what BDS has also realized, okay, if there's that many roamers, that means we have a free opportunity to clear as much utility as we want on the site. Not having to worry about it. Now, Liquefact has a Twitch drone ready in the kitchen. Could pop the mirror window if they want to. You just heard it popped as well, but we're first trying to figure out, is there going to be a player here? Answer is no. However, there seems to be one going aggressive towards green right now.
That was it. So roughly 30 seconds later, when we last saw this, all of the Wolves players had dropped back to the site. They'd pulled away from the fight. EFAC, oh, he's caught out almost there by the Razor Bloom, but the audio is the most important part. They cannot swing directly onto the fight. It buys this. Bibu time to drop. He's not going to take the engagement. He's not there to do that. He's there to sort of force the play, force the rotation, and force them to have to make a little bit of noise and a little bit of noise.
Not sure what the noise was for, but keep going.
Probably cosplayers.
Probably. As
my assumption is a cosplay did something.
Shaka pushing through, hoping to take control of Freezer. The drone will give away the information of Rise this time. Rise probably will not be swinging as aggressively as he did before. Found a kill. There you have it. The grenade comes in, finds him, puts BDS up one leg ahead as they are about to reach match point.
Puts a lot of pressure onto Freezer because it also puts a lot of pressure onto Pillar. They now don't have a proper true rotate out of there. P4, you've got to get a little bit of a shift on. They're watching though. Still played, still in place. Lems is holding it as a very tight angle. They would have heard the drop of the mirror at 1 speed making that movement. Well, look at the movement down in Freezer. It's Shaiko. He's trying to drive it, and as I said, Pillar's such a dangerous place. EFAC suffers next, but they're inside the site. Lems gets the spray run. Shiro and Shaiko and EFAC rounded out. And all across the board, BDS, they dug themselves in, drove to the site, and drive themselves on to potential points.
Flawless round coming through. And that is going to be painful for Wolves, especially as they managed to hold on to it on that very first go. And again, there was a very heavy roam up on that middle floor, even all the way up on the top, but not maybe giving themselves enough opportunities to get back out. Not quite sure. A lot of the utility taken out. Rise by that grenade and Freezer. That starts to add up altogether. And we know about BDS, even when they don't win tactically, which they did here, they just pull that trigger. They just go for it. They just manage to make it stick. And if they win tactically and they still pull that trigger the same way, there's no way you're going to be winning that round.
Did you see the music?
No, I didn't hear music.
Oh, okay.
So I look very confused. I'm like,
I look very confused. I guess if streamed in here, I'm not going to sound as crazy as I felt.
Maybe I'm just deaf. It could also be the case.
Maybe. Maybe I just love the siege sound so much. Okay. Now we're on map point. Now we're on that precious presser situation. Wolves technically have every single site open to them apart from meeting, but that is, you know, unlikely to be the one that they entirely drive themselves to. Dorms is the follow-up. If they want to and they're successful here, they can go back down underneath. Whether they do or not is down to them. Wolves, as you said, they went for a wider play. They went for a wider extension. BDS knew that. They picked up on it and they put the pressure back in. Here, I guess they'll see if they can try and maybe close down a little bit more. Lems is ripped and ready to go. There's currently a drone working its way around from EFAC. Rise is tucked. He's maybe hoping for an engagement. The play's on the far end. They're sort of getting the full test. It's a very noisy zip up. There's the play. There's the blinds. They think he's on the second story. He moves in on the back of it. Just gets caught out by that. The flash, they're over the top. They're looking for the prey. He cannot get through. Whether he was still blinded or not, either way, Lems gets an easy pickup. Shaiko, he's knocking on the door. He's slipped his way through right up against Trophy. They've got the pings down towards Mowgli as well inside. The Bulletproof is going to make sure Mowgli's a little bit safe with some of the coverage that might come across.
Soon they can set themselves up in crossfire towards the pit, which means that it's going to be very difficult for the remaining defenders to hold on to the bedroom side, because the tower has fallen. That is under control. In the meantime, you see Shaiko taking games as well. That's the pickup onto Mowgli. Brings them to a 3-on-5 situation. BDS, they have the opportunity, they have the resources to lock this off right now, and they're making sure they're getting themselves in the best position to do so.
I mean, it has been so sharp this round from BDS. They knew when they wanted to put engagement. You can almost hear the countdown towards the actual fight itself from their side. They have the control with the E1Ds, EFAC offering that support, but look at this, P4. What is he tempted by here? There is no claymores on the boards. There's nothing that's going to directly stop a jump out, but there may be somebody watching. That's always the worry. He needs to do it sooner rather than later. Shinka's finding a fight itself. They're waiting for the call that somebody's out there. You don't want to just throw the game away, and they're tucked really far around the corner. No reveal, but there's the reveal. EFAC takes the head off, pre-fires the rotation, but P4 pings one right back, buys some space, but they now know he is in Narnia. He needs to rotate towards the site as Bibu gets one, waits for the second follow-up, but the kit's being planted by Brede, and there's the catch on the far end. The spray just connects loose, but in a post-plant, and they know where he is and how he's locked out. He was trying to get a little lucky escape route catch. He's going to break himself a whip, but it is leading nowhere. BDS take Wolves' map, the first, and only one separates them from the semis.
Painful last round there for Wolves. I mean, Rise, he tried to hold on to the tower for as long as possible. Got flashbanged out, knew people were about to be swinging in, hoped to find a kill before he died, but instead it cost them the control. And after that, the pit fell as well. BDS had everything they needed to make that one stick, and they did. But this is also the experience that BDS carries along with them. They are a team that has played at the highest of levels at the international stage, and that is starting to come back into it now together with Leak Effect as the new pickup.
it was always going to be the toughest game for Wolves. There's a weird sort of statement and idea about that where there's the most pressure in this, a derby, and in a strange way, the least for BDS. If any of the opponents here, this is who BDS has beat the most. And this is the tournament where they've struggled to sort of get that mojo going. Wolves now, they have to take a timeout. They have to take that team talk and see what they can do, what they can bring to the map that we have ahead of us. In a weird way, Wolves treated like a best of one, where you find success, because best of threes, you don't want it to become the haunt that hovers over you.
No, for sure. They haven't quite been able to find that success yet when they do reach the playoffs. And that kind of just continues going, and you start wondering, what exactly is it? Because on paper, this map should have been a good opportunity for them. Maybe they left a little bit too much in the early stages of the first half, which put them in that troublesome situation now. But that's just a wonder. That's just a question we cannot answer right now.
What we can do is throw it to a quick break before we're back with more.
There really is nothing like a land
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a two-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do you do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
Welcome back, friends, to the studio. Hello, everybody. Noah Stamenik, your host, and we are back after a BDS victory on map 1. How will we break things down here on the desk with my wonderful two analysts, Am and Alpha Ma. Friends, expectations after this BDS victory?
I mean, I'm a bit surprised, to be honest, to see the way
Looks like it.
Yeah, because the thing is, looking at Wolves' attacks and why it didn't work is mainly because it was super slow, steady, zone-by-zone control, and then at the last minute, 5v5 execution without winning an opening engagement. The only attack rounds they won was the first one when they actually get the opening kill. Otherwise, they always fail to beat BDS because BDS abused the defender-sided map, they abused the natural crossfires, and always won that 5v5 execute.
Yeah, and we talked in the pre-show about the opportunity seeking that Wolves do a lot. But then with this map, it feels like they didn't really have any opportunities for themselves. They didn't really create them as we are used to seeing from them. They tried to get map control, they tried to contest things, but eventually they were left with no time and no real opportunities to go for, which then led BDS into thinking, oh, well, if they're just going to take their time, then we're going to go sit in our corners, we're going to wait out, because Wolves play it out that slow that we can swing, but we don't have to. We can just play passive, and it's going to work perfectly in our favor. We saw it being very defensive favored, and it turned out very well for BDS.
That's the unusual part, is that it wasn't just defense favored, it was 5-1 on the defense for BDS.
And this was Wolves' map pick, right? If you want this to be your map pick, you have to come out with something, because you know you're going to start out on the attack. BDS would be crazy if they pick attack to start out with.
It's the most 50-50 map that we have nowadays. Like, everybody should know how this functions, but this just is a testament to BDS, Alfama.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the end, what made BDS win this is two things. Either one, you're playing against a passive defense, then you've got to be disruptive. Either you bring Amaru, you bring Capitao, you create movement, you break the lines, you punish that, get the opening engagement, win the execute. If you play against an extended setup, then there's way much more room to get that opening pick. And Wolves actually went for 2 extended setups, 2 more attacking rounds for BDS to be won.
Yeah, and we saw some setups from BDS as well that were heavily utility-based, and Wolves didn't really do a lot to deal with that, whereas we saw BDS bring a lot of flores to deal with that type of utility. We see on the side of BDS, Shaiko, Leak Effect on the top of the scoreboard. Something I really wanted to talk about in the pre-show was that we see Bride do a little bit less planting, which we're actually used to seeing from him more. Even BDS is the team in the playoffs that has the least amount of plants.
What?
But yeah, it's so weird, right? You're used to BDS planting, right? They plant a lot with BJ and everything, but this right now they are the team in the playoffs with the least amount of plants. But they don't have to. If you look at Shaiko, if you look at Leak Effect, they will just run in, they will get the kills, and it puts you in a better situation. You don't need the plant to convert that round into a win condition for you.
Absolutely. I mean, the opening pick, like I said, was the winning factor, the winning condition here. And Shaiko has done an amazing job at winning them every single time, opening the rounds for them. And that was the difference maker.
Another concern I had was seeing Shinka on the top of the scoreboard. Shinka having a little bit of a worse game. It's not always the greatest either if your support player can't help you with setting up the execute and really enabling your team to go for a push. And whereas they didn't really deal with the utility as well as BDS dealt with the utility of Wolves, I think especially going into that second map, knowing how good of a map it was for BDS and how Wolves, it was the only map they lost during groups, might be a really bad prospect for them.
Yeah, people talk about utility and reinforcements and all that functions even more on Kafe Dostoyevsky because of how the map is. And this is where I turn to you both as my experts, especially Alfama, because you played the Kafe, 3 times in your career?
Oh, I think you can multiply that by 10, at least, or 100.
Fair enough. But how do you think this will work between BDS and Wolves? Because Wolves are notoriously under pressure when they're in the playoff stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first thing, obviously, Kafe favors BDS. It's their map pick, and there's a reason for that, right? Wolf isn't a bad Kafe team either. The biggest problem I see here is that Wolves struggle to be disruptive to BDS. And on Kafe, at least on free bomb side, if you take top, mining, reading, you have windows to be disruptive. You have windows to create movement and then punish. This is what I need to see them doing. Because right now, there is no way they're going to win a 5v5 execute. And it's really hard to actually execute 5v5 on Kafe. So they need to find those picks. And in order to do that, they need to be disruptive, like I said, bring a Monty, bring a Capitao, bring an Amaru, maybe try some fast-paced rush like they do know how to do. Problem is, will BDS give them the opportunity or the hole to do that?
Yeah, and in the past 4 months, it's also one of Wolves' worst defensive maps. So looking at a map with a defensive side, coming into this one, it's not maybe going to be the easiest for Wolves. Something we have also seen on Kafe specifically is that BDS, they did win against Fury and they did win against SSG. Wolves have a 75% win rate on it for the past 4 months, really. But I hope they can come back and find some opportunities on that attack. That's what's really going to matter.
All right, Wolves need to reset. Can they actually do it? What's kind of the X factor that they need to work out here?
Well, like I said, it's going to be creating movement. About the mentally resetting thing, they've been with this score for 2 years. They've attended every major. I trust them. And on top of that, they've got Rise. Rise is one of the most achieved and experienced player in the whole scene in the world. I mean, he knows how to drive these people. Lilu knows how to drive these people. I'm sure they're one of the best team when you take it mentally. In terms of comeback potential, they're one of the best team in the world. So I'm not afraid.
So map 3 or not, that's all I'll leave it to.
I'm up for the team take each other's map pick and then go to the final map, but it's also a little bit of copia because I love seeing a matchup like this and I just want to see it go all the way in the distance.
Fair enough. Sama?
As much as I'd like it to go to BO3, I think Kafe suits BDS much more, but I'd like to see them make me lie.
There you go. I can't wait to see then. Will we get a map 3 in this series? That's all the question that we have. Kafe Dostoyevsky is up and ready to go. BDS and Wolves are on the stage, and it's for the best in Europe to make it to the semifinals. Take a quick break. We'll be back to with our casters.
We know players have been asking about it, and we've talked about it before. It's been a long time coming, so we're super excited to announce that crossplay is coming with Season 4. PlayStation and Xbox players will matchmake together and benefit from lower wait times thanks to the larger matchmaking pool. Now for crossplay, PC and streaming platforms will be kept in a separate pool from consoles. We have no intention to merge these two communities right now, but we're super excited to bring our console players together. You can invite players through both first-party platforms as well as through your Ubisoft Connect overlay. You'll be able to access your friends list through the social tab and manage your invites, requests, and squad up with your friends from other platforms. We all know communication is key in Siege, and it's no different for crossplay. So, voice communications will be enabled at launch, and the local player will be able to speak to and hear cross-platform players as long as they have voice communications enabled in their options and they're on the same team. Of course, you can still manually mute players through the scoreboard during a match or through the player profile side panel. Crossplay isn't the only thing that's coming this season. We're super excited to announce that cross progression is another feature hitting Siege this season. This is thanks to a data migration that's happening with the season launch. So the first time you log in, you'll see a pop-up that lets you know all of your data now lives in the cloud and is accessible from any platform anytime. So for credits and renown, they're going to be added together. So any platform that any player has played on ever is going to be added together and shared. Due to the data migration, we're going to be rewarding all of our players with an alpha pack at the start of the season.
Right now, the rank playlist is a pure skill system in which there's only one value, the MMR. The MMR is used for rank and skill. Every start of the season, when we do the soft reset, because it's needed for rank progression, we are hurting the matchmaking fairness. After this soft reset, we have the placement matches to try to guess your rank as soon as possible. What are the changes in the core system? We are splitting skill and rank into two different values. The skill, in one hand, will be hidden and only used for matchmaking. On the other hand, the rank will be visible and only used for progression. We are removing the placement matches, because the only value that will be reset is the rank. You will start your rank progression at the beginning of the ladder. From now on, there will be rank points. There will be also 5 divisions per rank. Each division will have 100 points. Also, to help you in this progression, we included systems like the demotion shield that will prevent you from losing ranks easily. From now on, there will be 1 reward per division, so 5 rewards per rank, with some exclusive new items. If you finish one season in Gold 5, you will get as well the rewards from Silver 1, Silver 2, Bronze, and Copper. We are removing the squad restriction and including a new algorithm for squads that will ensure balanced matches. We would love to hear your thoughts to keep improving and working on the system.
Cause I have for you a great surprise. Oh, you have something in your eyes of power. And I can't deny I love it. There are no limits for us, so we can understand now. Think about it, make it feel so high. Make it feel so high. Make it feel so high, you never know why.
Hello everyone and welcome back here to this, the second map. Wolves' map went away from them. Now it's time for, I guess, BDS to see if they can lock it out 2-2-0, or if we go for the first time today to a third map.
I kind of want to get a third map, right? It's been very quick here today. I want to see these two teams go up towards the absolute limit between themselves. Take each other's map specs. I mean, we've said it before. It happens quite often in majors. It happens quite often in tournaments. Why would today be different?
I don't know. I'm not the take on that. The takeaway of this, though, has to be, what did Wolves talk about? What did they work out? What did they change up? And what do they think went wrong? They had a period of time where they really started to bite rounds back. But that ran out. BDS had a timeout. They cracked the solution, found the two they needed, and now they might find the second they need to progress for the first time to semis since forever.
All right, let's see what they have to bring here as we continue.
Milos has come to visit us, as is tradition. He's taking some wonderful photos. Are we going to have the cheers for the band? Oh. Oh. There we go. Still going. And if it's a Chanker, it gets booed. That's what you think. That's what I know. There's a Valkyrie cos... I think that screaming was the Valkyrie cosplayer. There's a really good Valkyrie cosplayer here. And I think I just heard them go, no! There they are.
And it's the Cade.
And they ban out Milos at the end there. All right, Nook Twitch Valk Cade. This is very standard for this map, very standard for this approach. It's Kafe, it's a lockdown, it's a good BDS map. It's not a horrible Wolves map, I would say.
It's not horrible.
It's still
not their best.
It's still a positive technical win rate over the past 3 months.
That's the thing, right? Like, Wolves has a very broad map range. Like, they like to play every single map. They win on them as well. It's just that the playoffs is always... There's just something different about them. Doesn't quite connect with them. So I hope to see that change, and I hope to see that Wolves brings us to a third map. As we start off. What? Sorry?
I thought that was it.
No.
The third map.
That's it. I did say Castler stop talking, start game earlier.
It did, during a break, so I'm not really sure what they expected.
We weren't even talking, we just sitting still.
Crying. Yeah, I mean, we've obviously had 2 showdowns where it's been 2 maps. We've had 2, let's be a little bit clear about it, heavy-handed second maps. It has been clear runs, I would say, for the 2 teams that have got here on their second sort of showdown at least. There was obviously an OT that we had in the first map, the second play. But here, Wolves are the ones that might be able to break, I guess, even their own curse. But the curse of the day so far, which is not seeing a third map. They'll start on the defense. They'll start at bar at the top, as is tradition, as BDS go for the traditional take. Eyes towards Cigar, towards the top end, and try and take control at the top of the stairs.
That means the hatches will be opened up, drones will start rolling through. Again, the usual prep work that needs to be done to start an approach, find success. BDS, however, is that team that even if they do not really get what they want under control, especially on this map Kafe, they'll still make it work from Cigar. Like, they'll just run in. Shaiko will get like a 3K on his way out. That's just that dangerous factor they have about them here. If Shaiko is on, if Likafak is on, Wolves is going to have a really tough battle on the defense here to try and hold on to it.
A lot of pressure towards 90. They're going to see if they can try and force out that swing player on the pixel angle. But it's otherwise still currently caught out. Mowgli's got the shield for protection. There is some ADSs to keep safe. There is obviously the disc that caught the burn there. Otherwise, they've got everything to hold onto this position for as long as possible. The ping on the bubble, they know that there's some awareness, but you sort of do this like this. A bit of long arm. Shaiko finds the burst fight, takes the drop on the hatch itself, looks for any sort of swing on the engagement. He's trying to force a bit of movement, tucks himself round to the opposite side of the long overwatch they've got, but it's tricky to get through. As I said, it starts like this. Take control of the top of the stairs, and Cigar, now they really have to try and force this to fight onto the back line. It's Renshiro. Fantastic use of utility there to burn under the gate.
And usually when the first falls on Cocktail, it slowly but steadily will snowball in favor of the attackers, because now they can play that trade game, and it is a really like back and forth times a sight. Like, you can start walking in, there's only limited angles you will really have to cover. The next person they need to worry about is going to be Mowgli around on the pixel, and I think Shaiko might be wanting to pay him a bit of a visit here as he's sending some bullets down range. Drops come through from the skylight. Renshiro, he's in. Mowgli fights back though.
Mowgli fights back, finds a second. He's still holding on to that important angle we talked about. Alems does find the end of him, and Renshiro, he's tucked in the middle. Does he take the burn on the gate? Well, he doesn't take much more. With the body down to his side, the ping's on the player, they're pre-firing the angle. There's a bit of a stack up here and a bit of traffic. A huge take by Lems on the back end. Renshiro finds one as well. Suddenly, it's just Bibu left. He's looking for the fight across the bow. The two remaining players have got the pings coming against them, but it's also a reverse two-way street. The kit's cold. Bibu finds a connection. 10 seconds left. It's all still hot. The drive is all the way back to the front. Renshiro, he doesn't quite have the correct route through. They're close on the fight. It's Renshiro!
And as I said, even if they do not open up everything, even if they do not get all the utility, they will still just push in, get those kills. Exactly here, they were kind of stuck. They were surrounded by 4 players, but what do? They just start dropping the hatch and they just go for it because they know, they feel confident here, and that's exactly what BDS is currently putting on that board. So well done. Almost a clutch around though, almost able to, well, permanently put down that diffuser without it being able to be used, but just not completely enough, not far enough. Time just too much on the board. And that's going to be hurting Wolves. That's their first round gone.
It is. It was the same on the opposite map.
Yeah.
The first time around, BDS were able to take everything apart from the first round. Will Wolves be able to do, I guess, the opposite of that here? They will probably try and put in a bit of distance. There was a period of that time, based on the work of Mowgli, tucked in on the corner, where they almost started to pull themselves back into the lead. There, obviously, there was the down on the single player, picked back up. But BDS, they're able to drive themselves back through. Caught right in the middle. Obviously, the bit of the scratch fight in the core of the site was probably a bit of a blow they didn't really want.
Alrighty, we move on towards that bottom floor, and as I was just saying as well, the site we just saw has a 73% win rate for the defense. The kitchen is a lot worse. Oh no, 40% overall this tournament. So attacks have been quite successful here overall. I believe Anne also mentioned it though, Wolves did struggle on the defense on this map in general, so, you know, they're just trying to get 2-3 rounds in total, I think, to see what they can do. As Shinka, quite aggressive, deals a little bit amount of damage to a Lems, but stays alive most importantly.
Yeah, both had a massive awareness of each other in that fight, and the pressure is kind of on both of them for now. Shinka, he's hoping that there's still at least a bit of a call out in case somebody tries to get a collapse elsewhere, and it will come from P4 most likely, who's playing this very top aggressive position. The grenade bounces out and he realizes that they're coming for him. Lems, he can just sort of sit and hold. He doesn't want to die because his route isn't to try and take the kill there onto the player. It's to try and catch the rotation down over the top if they took it. They didn't. So Lems can actually move off. P4, he's still tucked, but he's pushed further back.
Has the hatch opened up for him now, though, so he can drop down into Laundry if he needs to. Was asking for a bit of support to come over, and that was going to be the shotgun that I believe Shinka was carrying with him. The way Likafek's coming around, and he might actually soon cut off this whole opportunity to rotate around. He spots a player, somehow finds him on that last bullet, but instantly traded out by P4's Rise. Just found the entry a little bit earlier.
Shaiko fights back, keeps things balanced down Brown, and pulls himself for the rotate over the top. They got to do some structural work, and they almost catch P4 on the tail end of it. Renshiro still has the hammer, and it starts to hit there. They're going to try and get themselves this. A bit of clarity. Limit the places that Wolves can bury themselves in, limit the rotations that they can sort of make and see if they can try and catch out some of the utility. They have time. Time's a bit on their favor, and keeping it even was the most important part there, which is Shaiko sort of let himself down and pulled himself quickly back up here. They could not escape with that advantage in 50 seconds. There's still the drive, the hard breach and pocket. They might have lost some of the pocket utility, but there's still more than enough to make it work.
Aware of the player in VIP, that is usually the pain point if you want to be dropping down the hatch here. BD has joined him with the diffuser ready to drop. One more smoke canister left in Rice's pockets. After that, it's just going to be the SMG. And they're trying to go for a bit of a vertical angle out here, hoping to, well, find the top of his head above the shield, but not quite successful at that.
There's a big force of the play, and Renshiro took so much through the soft wall. There's one more player in the corridor, but look at this swing! Oh, pop your head up, Renshiro, and have it taken off. There's only 10 seconds. A spray onto the stair set itself. Shaiko, he's driving through. P4 gets one more. And Wolves find the quick response for the first round lost.
Locked BDS up in the freezer out there, and I mentioned it is going to be that pain point, a player that is inside of VIP, just able to toss these smoke canisters in, really limit your movement. But when you drop down and you do not have the freedom of VIP, you cannot use that double window as well that's right next to you, and that gives the freedom to the Wolves players to just rotate around that, use that to their advantage and lock off the round. So we're 1-1. Going towards a reading, the next site. And Wolves, I mentioned it before, 2 or 3 rounds, and I think they'll be, well, sort of happy with that. They prefer more, of course. But at least that is a good start for their attack later on. And they got one on the board, so quite early on, and quite convincing there as well. So plenty of opportunities for them to bring this one into their own hands.
Back and forth. Is that going to be a bit of a tale told here? As we said, this is BDS's map. And last time, or often, actually, we've cast teams. Maps have sort of drifted away from each other. I believe it happened when we did the semis for the other EU team that was able to maybe take the throne. Whether they remember it or not on Twitter is a different story, but them and X set was a brawl on each other's surface, and it only really separated in the final map.
It did. And again, hoping that we see a third map here. Wolves definitely will as well. Brede pushing
well, they
up.
have to.
But they have to. I mean, otherwise they're knocked out, right? So
I mean, it would be weird if they were like,
you know what?
Oh, we're fine with
two. Okay. No,
yeah.
they definitely won't have that mentality.
No, they will not. They want to break through this more than anything, I would say, but break through this comes from this. Likifak getting a quick burn and a blind over the top. There's a bit of a grenade throw. Renshiro's going for the hot hop right down to the fight. He gets blind as well, but he's able to take care of Mowgli. Does not see the second man. P4's waiting for the Candelas. There's a Lems to get a couple back, but Bibu at least stems the flow of blood. Shaiko, does he know truly where there's a player maybe waiting underneath in pillars? There's a drone that's going to steady its way around. P4 is still a bit curious of the angle. They've otherwise pulled themselves to the roof. They're out of there. They took some of the aggression onto the top, but with Bibu holding onto it for now, BDS, whilst they have the man advantage, is going to see if they can expend it elsewhere.
Gonna have that, well, you know, double entry kill. One was returned, but they need to be careful now because, as you just saw, a C4 has been prepped underneath the skylight. It is a usual drop that BDS likes to, well, take control of every now and then. So they need to find different ways in, or at least get the information there might be a C4 there as a grenade flies through. Shaiko back on his drone, checks his own flank, knows that nothing is going to be there. But reading is the eventual sight, and that is a good use of the Gemini, let's say it like that.
I don't think he expected it, but it does work perfectly. Alem's able to pick off one more. Bibu, he's on the top, and now he's the only one left. Another body lost from the verticality here, and BDS have been able to dispatch almost every single Wolves player without even entering the floor. Now, though, they're flooding in the site. Brede, they took the drop over the top, and Bibu's going to try and do the same. The rotate will be watched. You can see the player on the white window. Just heard a shuffle. There's the spray. I mean, may as well be revealed. It's got ground to make up. Takes a bit of damage with it being watched on the top as well. This is the first fight. Doesn't quite know, though. BDS, round for round.
Shaiko waiting patiently there behind the bar, hoping to pop up at the exact right moment. Did so. 2-1.
First plant.
First plant as well for
the showdown.
No, we had one in round 9, actually.
Oh, did we?
I think we did. That was the meeting room, which had no attic play.
Oh, yeah, it just got down. I recall now.
So, as we push on, BDS in the lead again. Wolves, they know they need to find 2 or 3. That's their aim, that's their goal, and they are running it back down towards Reading.
Okay.
Which was quite convincingly BDS's just momentarily ago, I'd say.
Yeah, that's that sort of thing, because Bar was a scrap, and it sort of boiled down to an aggressive drop. You think that maybe there's something there that they think they can tweak, or maybe they're worried that BDS will think the same, and they hope here that there's something else that they can sort of stack up inside of a site that was so one-sided and heavy-handed that BDS won't think to check or change. Maybe if you take care of the potential of a Candelas that aren't there currently, maybe if you take change of the potential drop of the Skylight that might come, we don't know until later, well, that 1C4, instead of being popped under a single player, gets the guy that got 2, it's a different round and a different story. There is changes, though. As we said, the Candelas will not be picked up. Instead, Gridlock will find her first showing of the showdown.
Of course, Gridlock is an operator that doesn't get used quite often, but the kit that she brings is very useful at that. Have the opportunity, of course, to basically stop any staircase from being used by those defenders, unless they use a lot of ammunition to get rid of it. More importantly, that gives away their position, and that is something you often do not want to be known if you're going on a bit of a flank. So Leak Effect, of course, having the opportunity to shut those down, as well as, for example, the brown stairs that are headed towards the basement. That's often where you have a defender creeping as well to provide some support to the hatch drops that might be coming through. We just spotted out the Gemini replicator there, sort of knowing to not use a Nitro Cell for that. Not this time.
The spray round to the opposite end of the long overwatch of P4. There's the E1D, which is the control of the space here of BDS across both maps has been great, and they're punishing on the back of it. P4 was caught out. Now they're going to see if they can try and swing around. The pre-fire connects with Rise. They knew somebody was on Lumber, regardless of the fact that Bulletproof was picking things up. EFAC, he's putting a bit of a scrap and a scrape in. Look at this BDS. They're surrounding and circling the hole on the back end. They've got to try and fight for a route out, but every single one is watched, and the drones are giving even more. Bibu buys himself a second. They're both tucked tail over the top. They're waiting for some movement. EFAC finds one. They're inside the site, and well, if the last round was powerful and in control, this weirdly feels even worse. 5-1, Mowgli all that's left, and if it was a gambit and a gamble to double down on Library, the only thing that's been red is this hold.
This is going to be a tactical timeout coming out from Wolves right after this, because everything is falling apart. It's a flawless round for BDS. They extend their lead to a total of 2 rounds. And they are looking to continue their tradition against not losing from Wolves. Again, the last 6 times they played, it was them who won it. BDS. I hope to make that 7. No tech timeout coming out, actually. I was thinking that round is very defining in terms of that everything is going wrong. Like, your players are being picked up, and they just don't even realize from where. They just seem to be in the wrong position every single time, because there's a BDS player able to pick them up. So they have the opportunity to, of course, reset themselves without using that tech timeout. That's maybe what they went for. See what they can do. Top floor is, again, the option we are opting to go for. But they need to make sure they connect now. Because, again, I mentioned that even if BDS doesn't clear out all the utility, the Pixel Shield, for example, they don't mind leaving that up. They will just go for the side directly. They just push through the cigar door, through the new hatch area, and they'll just muscle it through. They've done that so many times before, and that's what makes them such a scary team to play on Kafe. This top floor is just difficult to hold against them.
Wolves. This is tricky. As you said, there was the chance of a tech timeout with how things went on the previous round, but they want to sort of it in the server. They want to see if they can try and pull and play their way back. They've done it before, and sometimes that's kind of what you need rather than a team talk. Get your heads on and see if you can try and make it happen. The first sight and the first time we saw this, as I said, you kind of had a moment there when you think it might have gone Wolves' way, apart from the heroic double drop death of the main remaining BDS players. But here, once again, striking their way over the top. BDS might have lessons learned. They might have themselves with a little bit more control. And control has been almost their MO for this showdown so far. They have been right over the route that Wolves want to run.
Piano being opened up now as well by BDS. They're giving themselves some width to try and take and to control multiple areas of that map. Of course, the pixel shield that Mowgli is playing behind is going to be that crucial point. He has 2 ADSs. He has the opportunity to toss out as many discs as he wants as well. So a lot of pieces of utility need to be expended here by BDS if they want to remove Mowgli from his spot. And as Bibu finds the first, that might be a game changer.
Bibu, a massive important factor for Wolves' run to get to this point, and he's going to make sure that they don't drop just yet. The shield got caught. And if we remember, this is actually where things started to go a little bit well for Wolves last time round. Mowgli was able to do some damage on the swings either side of it and kept them at bay longer than BDS probably wanted. Here, with that first body away from them, and Efak not quite getting that connection. It's Rise on a back line, waiting for somebody to maybe go for a smoke plant, but BDS, once again, they're stacked on Cigar as the gate got reactivated. Alems finds Mowgli on the connection of the white window, wants to see if another might come, but with a minute, they've got the pressure of time.
But this means that white hallway is now somewhat free to play at. Of course, there's still a player going to be on the white stairs and some around near that freezer. Shaiko, even so happily to take that gunfight engagement towards P4, is looking to see if he can find anybody out here now. He basically can play it for free as there's no pressure around white.
Yeah, Shaiko, he's buried himself in. There's a bit of rotation and movement coming on the back end as well. Alems, he's got himself stacked up on those eastern windows, watching across the board. They're circling, and Shaiko fights, well, the wrong person. BDS, though, he's dug his way in. He's getting the kit down planted. They're trying to find the kill, and Rise is the one that has the coverage. Renshiro, he's just watching from the hatch until he takes the drop and takes the first, looks for the second and finds it, gets the kit back, a single fight ahead of him. Does he know there's the down? Doesn't matter. Shinka finally finds the first round for Wolves in a while.
Camera out there, information was there, but they still needed to pull that trigger in time. Well done. Wolves hang on. They find that second round. Mentioned before, 2 or 3 is what they would aim for. They have that second. Now looking to see if they can find a third to find themselves in a better position to go over towards the attack. Because they are a better attack team on Kafe than they are on the defense. And you can see that here and there as BDS is just able to rip apart through the defenses at these given spots. So maybe that's also what they're saving the tactical timeout for. They know defense is not their strong suit. They need to make sure they keep it in their back pocket in case the attack doesn't start off well.
BDS. It is still their map, it is still where they wanted to go, and obviously the site preference that they might want is on the defense. Regardless of us quoting how much better Wolves can be on one half than the other, we've always got to remember that is a two-way street, and BDS, they're just as happy with the situation they're in for now. They've sort of, suffered the first round and 3 away from them, but it's the growth route they have ahead that is still open and optionable. The second half will be able to have at least 2 attack timeouts. Neither team has utilized them as of yet. Will it be an even hand? Will it almost be like a set and a reset?
Possibly. We might even end this on like an even footing, right? Where both these teams are on 3. It's basically becoming a sprint in that half. See who finds more. Bibu being droned out. It's not going to be too worried about that. Just quickly dispatches of that drone. Flashbang's coming in from Wedding, though. That is a bit of a bigger issue for him, especially since he's still being droned out. Scar's going off as well. They are trying to put up the pressure around him as that is the Wedding wall opened up.
Yeah, there's that drone just tucked on the inside. P4's trying to offer some support, but it's smoked off, and this is once again, BDS playing a very good connection, actually. They were able to get rid of the X-Kairos, unless they popped on a different wall than what I thought they were trying to breach through. There it is, the second set, and there's the impact. That's the cover. That comes a little bit across. Shinka, he's rotated his way around. Bibu, I think, had a moment where he wanted to ditch it out, but the support structure started to show up, and that's actually bit back here against BDS. P4 heard the break-in. Efak has the ability to try and find some feet, though. Has he stepped on that place recently? Efak goes one way, P4 gets Shaiko the other, fights his way back down to site, goes for some support, and the structure comes through. This is it. Wolves. They're starting to sort of rematerialize themselves. There'll be the reveal that the player's dropped himself back down. The first swing's the drone, the second's the feet, and the third, some attention paid to all 5 players now down on the kitchen floor.
Was a slight miss drone you had there, meaning that P4 able to get away with that first kill instantly back towards the side. It wasn't the double prone pressure that you would like to see from an attacking team like that. But now the verticality starts. Renshiro can swing the camera around and see how much he can open up and how much he can actually expose of the defending setup. Of course, this usually will be repositioning out these defenders to outside of the actual site. There's only 1 or 2 safe spots to be in, which allows BDS to actually start cutting down these angles one by one.
Well, now as the drive comes together, they've got themselves eyeing up the chance at a plant and a drive towards what is the default. That drone will pop just enough to get the gate, but it's EFAC that finally gets control of Bakery. BB was caught out, and he's going to see if he can try and push his way across down the corridor, where the other players have otherwise, for now, handed it over. A spray a bit too high, just sees the end a bit too low. Mowgli throws an impact, looks for the fight, but the impact is EFAC's. He's able to get a big kill. The rotate comes through. There's the shotgun a bit low. No, it's Shinker actually with the pocket SMG, but the drop is onto the hatch itself. They've cut past the player. P4's tucked, ready for the swing round. They want to hit the chassis. There's a watch above, so nobody can rotate on the opposite side. Rise has to take a direct route through, but Renshiro's actually handed it over. The fight on the back end. P4 puts the kick cold. There's the pop round. They've got to get it back, but it's Wolves. Bites back even half.
Well done by Wolves there. They held on when they had to. And again, that first kill, crucial. Able to fall back towards the side instantly afterwards. That is important because then you can restructure yourselves. Everything they just droned out on the site, that is going to be outdated. That keeps BDS guessing. You saw when Likafak went in, he gets the kill into Wedding. He's afraid someone is still up in Kojak. There was no one there, but, you know, they didn't know if that changed over the last time they checked it. And that means he was too worried about set position rather than the actual area where the defenders were coming from. And that just, like, that divided attention, that is really what Wolves needs to play into here. But they're up on the attack now. They get to choose their own path. As BDS is tossing up the hurdles. The top floor is first. Mira on the board, that is going to be difficult to deal with in some of these situations. Probably going to be a wide opening up towards the piano with the Mira on the plate near planks on that double door. Basically rendering the entirety of piano, well, dangerous to threat to.
5 seconds left.
At least that's what it looks like in terms of the opening main.
It's like Brede, can you move? I need to get this reinforced.
Opening up slightly further just to remove any visions that might have been blocked. Yeah, but this is the mirror window I was talking about. So this is just to make sure that piano is not going to be as safe for the Wolves as they might want it to be, no matter what they do.
All right, what's the take here? You always see a thinker nowadays and you're thinking, what's the take here? Because she fell a little bit out of favor from being pretty frequent and a reason one of the majors went the way it did with so much of a dramatic rise in her usage. They've got themselves eyeing up maybe an Eastern front, the Nomad, just to keep some of the control of the jump out, but usually before the air jab gets hit, they can get a spray down to at least one of the players, and then they just become a little bit more of a sitting duck. The pressure over the top, it's always pretty familiar, regardless of whether you're trying to take fully over on the right-hand side or onto East and the fight on Heaven and Hell. It's Mowgli that might try and force the play. The drop in, the reveal, all the way across, get all of this yummy, yummy, delicious intel, and see what happens next. Mowgli might find a fight sooner than he thinks, and he does. Helems was watching just on the bottom. The drone rolls a second too late, but Mowgli can now just watch from behind the scenes.
So you want that drone like slightly ahead of the person going for the entry frag so they can respond instantly, but this was like a little bit too close to the player, so the information wasn't coming quite through yet. But that's an entry. No, BDS will be more than happy with, because now they can just fall back towards the side slightly, just hold on to it, because they know that Wolves, they need to work together now. C4s are being prepped for an eventual jump, and there's 2 players stacked up on that window.
EFAC is underneath it as well, waiting with open arms. Brede wants to just hit this onto the windowsill and pop it, see if he can get them. The rotate comes around, and I don't think they're going to back it up with a push here. P4, he cannot get the fight he wants, and Wolves know that they have this body disadvantage. They can't risk being the back end of the trades. There's still a player underneath inside reading. There's only a minute left, and Wolves really haven't got control of anything in that time.
There's actually a pre-placed C4 on that window jump in now, so P4 cannot really go for the window that he's about to be, well, looking at, so instead he's going to go down below, see what he can clear out, maybe even swap completely from the position they want to go from. As you see, complete rotation coming down towards the southern side. They need to go for something else, but again, piano is relatively unsafe due to the mirror windows being out there, so they need to think of something, and that something is P4 just quickly trying to push up the white stairs.
He knows that someone was here, and, well, he's able to get the kill there and drive the further push. The prox is pointless. They know he's there. He's not being subtle, but behind him is EFAC. He's trying to make a bit of a movement, and Shaiko gets the connection onto Bibu. P4 finds Brede. They got to fight through the site, and P4's doing everything he can. There's one more for P4. The last is in front of him, but EFAC stops the ace. It's a 2 versus 1. They got to see if they can try and get this kit. They're concerned with the player underneath, but now he's just got to try and take the fight flat. He's looking wrong corner, post-plant situation, 2 versus 1. EFAC has a huge clutch, and he cannot find it. Wolves, after a slow start, find the first and finally find themselves a foot ahead.
They already pulled themselves back into that round. The White Stairs push was really the only option they had. And they made it stick because they had to. And that puts them back into the lead. Slowly calming down. Having a chat between themselves as they head on to the next attack. They know this one was a bit too close for comfort. Not in terms of the fact that, you know, eventual man count. Yes, it was also close, that 1v3. However, it was the fact that they did not really manage to cut through the actual site like they intended to, but had to go for that last second round-winning call of pushing themselves up the White Stairs. That happens once. It might happen a second time, but that's not something you can continue to rely on. You need to make sure that you open up as you intend to, that you can stick to the plan that you had at hand.
It's the thing about P4 as a player, is he hasn't really had the biggest connection in terms of KD. He's a little bit negative. He was, you know, just a little bit positive in the league play itself. However, one statistic he's usually pretty good at is the entry. Okay, technically that wasn't an entry, but the player is still the same. The player is one who, if you need to say, we need somebody to go in and cause a problem, we need to send somebody in to what seems like a little bit of a fruitless situation without ground and at least try and take it, he's a great name to have in that slot, as proven there. There was really nothing Wolves had taken control of at that point. Their take was one that was built around a sort of quick break and breach. So instead, sending P4 up the stairs. He won the first. He doesn't always win the second. This time he found 4. You couldn't really ask for any more here. Wolves, as I said, the first time they have been in the lead. And look at this. Round the back line, gets the shield.
That should have been called out by the Jaeger out there. Like the RC Artillery is starting to push through. That is headed towards VIP. So maybe a slight slow miscommunication coming out there from BDS. At least some damage done back towards Rise. But Grenade is about to be flying through. ADS will save Alem's life. No second one being tossed out because they have no clue if there is going to be a second piece of utility out there. Quick check up. Is that just not going to fall down? Yeah. Still gets it, though.
Still gets it. That grenade catch was almost like an advert for the ADSs. That was perfect. As was that. Shaiko locks out Mowgli, who is, if I said he didn't really quite have the full connection in the first game here, he's struggling even more. But the last round was built on the back of them losing that first body, losing that first engagement. They have a little bit less time to try and work out something and have done a little bit of the structural work this time around at least. But here still, there's a lot to be done on this floor. There's been nothing done on the floor above. Sometimes Wolves do this. They don't try and take the vertical. They don't try and put too much of a focus on it. Instead, go for this flat fight. They've got somebody on the door, a coat check, and Shaiko is trying to say, sorry, we're closed. But it's P4 round on the back. Will he be able to get this surprise strike? It does seem likely, and it is.
Was a lot of damage done to right still, though, but P4 dug himself in quite deep, close to the wall now as well, so I believe that is Alem's. If he steps a little bit out of line, he's going to be picked up by either of those two Wolves players. P4 wanted to go for a bit of a swing as well. He's holding it very tight here around the bar. Should be safe from P4's position, at least for now. A drone needs to come in to give them that information.
Yeah, as soon as they get the read on Alem's, you know there's going to be a bit of pressure, but Bibu in the meantime, he's trying to swing his way through. Renshiro, he's able to take care of one. The bandit charge gets placed, and EFAC and Renshiro get themselves one more on the board. Shinka, in the blink of an eye on what seemed like the start of a Wolf strike, suddenly all that's left, there's the blind, but there's the swing. BDS just sort of locked the door on the site itself.
It was a good bit of teamwork coming down there from Wolves to get rid of the player in coat, but after that, you mentioned it, they didn't have any verticality, so there's no pressure onto the site. This gives BDS the opportunity to just play the site, right? And that's the issue. That's why you open up above, because there's so many angles, so many corners they can just hide in. You see it out there. It's like 3 players all around. It's usually not what you see that late into a round. Usually it's 1 hiding, maybe 2 if you're lucky.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
But now the entirety of BDS had the opportunity to just sit back and relax due to the lack of verticality.
Whoever loses this round I assume might call attack timeout. It's always a tricky one, because the game is still close. And obviously, if BDS go ahead, it's a lot worse for Wolves. If Wolves go ahead, it's not the end of the world for BDS, because they still technically have that buffer, that safety map. This is their map, though. And if Wolves have the momentum, they want to break it up. If Wolves aren't on map point, they want to keep it that way for as long as possible, regardless of whether they're building momentum or not, I would say. I could be wrong. It's down to the team, but that's based on assumptions, based on watching them week in, week out for a very long time.
No, it's definitely going to be more problematic for Wolves, especially if you start considering Bank as well. Statistically, better map for BDS as well between the two of them. So that is something that's on the back of their minds as well, right? They kind of relied on taking that first.
I will say in recent play, it's been 2 each. Yeah. They're both 100% on recent play. And it's always the tricky thing when we talk about long stats because, okay, yeah,
dynamics.
The Wolves project is one that's built on a while. They've had Mowgli as the fresh pickup, and EFAC has been defining. Look, EFAC has sort of shown up and added a new resurgence to BDS, so that becomes tricky. It will be spicy, though. That is a guarantee.
It for sure should be spicy, but we first have this spice at hand, level 2 of the game coming in. BDS, of course, only need a couple more rounds, and they're on that defense. They will feel confident on it. Because it's just a very confident team, and they have been finding their strides the last couple of, matches that they are playing. And yes, of course, it did come down eventually to a bit of help as Rise just drops in, gets the kill onto Breed, and is looking to go even more aggressive now.
Look at this, the blinds come on the back end. Rise has tucked himself super deep, but gets caught by the candelas of his own player. EFAC finds Mowgli, Renshiro finds Rise, and that is a bit of a tragedy, but Bibu's there. But look at the cigar rotate, and they can't quite get it. They're in the fire. P4, a little too late to the party. There's the player, and there's one more for Alems. BDS, they instantly responded, stepped back into what was supposed to be a bit of a quick strike there from Wolves, and after what was a successful lead-in, an unfortunate bit of a second of misplay or mistiming, and it goes against them, as is how Siege likes to work.
Again, they feel confident on the side of BDS. They will lean into a gunfight if you give them the opportunity to. That's exactly what they did. Yes, the first kill goes to Wolves, but after that, they are coming through the fire together with Shaiko to put BDS back into the lead. 5v4. And I still see the microphones being down, so attack timeout has not been called yet. They might be waiting up until the actual very last round, when their 6 does get hit. As we continue to fireplace and mining. So we're not headed to cocktail, not kitchen, which is locked. We're headed towards mining. The other side on that first floor that BDS is going to be defending. Again, they want to be showing, hey, we can win every single site on this map right here. We want to defend every single one of them.
That's a BDS special.
Yeah, that's what they like to do every now and then. I mean, it is a way of showing that you are feeling confident on this map and comfortable.
Wolves, 2 rounds separate you from, once again, falling out inside this. They have technically a route of growth over the majors they've been at this year, one of only 2 teams that have been at every single major, and whereas W7M have absolutely exploded throughout this tournament and gone flawless for now.
They've become the main favorite, I think.
Wolves haven't quite had that connection, but there has been growth. The first was, oh, is this going to be a suffer? They know that there was a swing out on 1. They'll now know that there was a swing out on the 2nd. As I was saying, though, they couldn't get out of groups in Charlotte. They couldn't get out of quarters in Berlin. Will that happen again?
Well, they hope not. They hope that they are able to bring this back. And again, you mentioned it, they are very close. It's just a single round. It's just a single entry kill, snowballing into a little bit more for the attack of Wolves to truly put themselves back into the driver's seat of this game and find that confidence with Shaiko. Talking about confidence. He's close to the window. He's getting some pings from the Prisma. Knows that the window has been swapped upon. This might be a double jump out because you see Alems going up towards the white stairs. Finding some support, actually backing off now, doesn't want to stick around.
The pressure's coming now onto Shaiko. He's waiting for a swing in either side, but you can't do it by just yourself. The impact will sort of say, I'm watching you, and that grenade will sort of say, we know. The flashes, the blinds, the cover on both sides. Efak with the rotate, but it's scrappy, and Mowgli does find Shaiko in the mean end. Renshiro finds Rise, though, and Mowgli finds Lems, and then Renshiro finds another P4. BDS are refusing to give up ground, and some of the players that, as I said at the start of this day, were a bit quiet statistically, have driven themselves a little bit better. Mowgli, he's tucked himself inside reading. He's just setting up a rotation. They have the reveal on a single player. They know that Renshiro is up there. He's caused them enough drama and made sure that Wolves weren't able to run away with the control. He pulls back. There's pings on this, and there's 2 players, 2 stories, and a pre-fire. There's the fight. There's the second. Mowgli didn't maybe expect the second player to be there. The impact puts him to 1 HP, and the rest is finished by Efak. The rotation over the back end. There's a take and a blinded man. It's a 2 versus 1. Hot dropped in the single player Bride, tucked behind the chassis and the table. Hoping he goes unchecked for at least a single kill, but there is a minute. They have the time to be able to maybe structure something here. There's a swing and a fight, and Bride takes out one, but he can't find the next Bibu.
Wolves bring it back. Again, we're keeping it even. We're making sure we're trading rounds. And this was a very, very traded round because it just continued swinging back and forth. I don't think we've had a single point where one team had 2 players over the other. Just every single time it was 1 before a struck back came through. Kitchen, the next side BDS will head to. No tech timeout called from them yet either. That will probably come onto the next round. No,
I guess everything I said about the previous round.
Yeah, that's now, right? I mean, there's no points. That's kind of the difference between groups and like playoffs. Usually if a team calls timeouts in groups, they do it on round 5 if they want to wait as long as possible. Like when your opponent has 5. When you're in playoffs, the 6th round doesn't mean anything, right? To some extent. Yes, if you lose the next, you're done. But you still have the opportunity to take the full win, and then that is when the tactical timers start to get called out on 6, to take out the momentum out of your opponents and really set yourselves up well to close the gap to overtime. I think that after this we will get to see that, but it is the bottom floor to be defended. Wolves, are you going to take verticality this time around?
You kind of hope so. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, if a team has an idea and a play in a place, it's something that works well for them, but Wolves' sort of resistance to sometimes go for the verticality. It's not just this site. They've done it on a couple of different maps and a couple of different points. They try and drive through. It cost them before. Renshiro playing in what is an easy-to-stop position, just by opening up a bit of the pressure above, could have revolutionized their round. They lost 3 bodies to what was just a swing round that you'd see on a standard take here. They're still going to go for the same sort of lead in. There is a BDS player playing a bit loose, and ooh, they're playing a bit above. They might not have heard the breach. They probably will hear that, though.
Like, in fact, making sure that if there is verticality plans for Wolves, there is at least someone to hinder the process. Shaiko playing rank code. He's aware that last time someone played out there, he was double teamed. So he's making sure to check his corners occasionally just to make sure no one is actually coming through. RC Roteros are in, though. Just trying to make sure to take out some of that utility. Quite sure what he's hunting for. Maybe some bulletproof gadgets. Eventually gets lost, and that keeps the bender wire on the wall, making sure they cannot actually open it without dispatching it with an EMP.
Yeah, it looked like they were just trying to find out everything inside that room, and now they're going to try and find everything in the room above. It does seem like Efak has pulled himself away. For now, so BDS, they're just going to sort of hold on to the angle and get themselves the stretch and sort of eye up the site itself. Maybe Efak thought, okay, well, they're not doing vertical again. They're doing a standard Wolves take. Let's drop back and give the support into the site. And Shaiko finds Mowgli to give them all the support that they need, hops back into coat check, gives them that width, that angle across the board now, and as they start to pressure where they lost bodies before, will they actually try and pressure above it this time?
It's something they haven't done over the last map either, so wouldn't be surprised if they don't go for it. Waiting for the EMP to come through so they can start opening up onto the actual bakery wall, but you have to be careful because it's a bandit you're playing against, and Renshiro still has one in pocket, playing close to the wall as well, so he has the opportunity to go for the trick. But Bibu has the opportunity to go aggressive. That seems what he wants to do, but the Nitro comes out, stops that from happening, and that means that BDS have a really good opportunity to bring themselves to 6 now.
I mean, that was it, just locked in. Efak's playing it aggressive, caught out of the worst possible time. They're inside the site though. P4 took the drop on the hatch itself, is looking for another body, but Renshiro was aware and Shinka bites back. A 3 versus 2. With Kochak still away from them, it's not an easy entrance here for Shinka. He's sort of expecting a swing, but there's so many places it can come from. He needs support to come from the opposite pinged player. He needs someone else to give him just a little bit more. It's Rise who takes a great fight down the main corridor, but 10 seconds. They got to go for the drop, and as I said, Shaiko, he's still cashing checks inside the Kochak zone. They're spread out. BDS are on opposite ends of the site. They're refusing to give him anything. Rise can't find anybody he wants to. BDS sit on map and series point.
One more round and they'll see themselves go up to the semis to play against a NA team yet to be disclosed. Wolves have the opportunity to bring it back, of course. They're just a single round away from overtime. And this one did come quite close, but this time no Kochak control. Also no verticality. And also, no tactical timeout again to be called. So they're not going for it. They think they have what it takes to bring it back now. Liloon has nothing to add currently. The team does not necessarily need to talk. They feel confident. They know they can do it. They just need to, well, put the pieces together. One last time at least. So, 5v5, one last potential round. The top floor to be attacked by Wolves. What are they going to go for? Last time, a bit of a Hail Mary push up the white stairs. Again, you cannot keep on relying on such a thing, so they need to make sure that they're actually doing this, taking the control they need, and set this push up methodically.
Wolves, if the rounds were pressure before, this is the most. One of the only teams to break at the top of the group, one of the only EU teams to break out of the groups. Could this be another bit of heartache, another quarterfinal, another best-of-3 curse? BDS have stepped up massively throughout this showdown. We're seeing performances that they weren't quite able to put together here, especially from Enchiro and Shaiko. Ifak, he's tucked around Whiskey. He's waiting for a bit of an approach. He's hoping he's gone unsuspected, and he obviously does have the chance at doing something. There's a little bit of a big breakout. There is support from the back end, and they're concerned about the breakout from underneath as the pressure starts to come across. Ifak, he's suffering a bit of a spray over the top, whether that was just a cursory check or not. They're almost baiting a fight. He just has to time this in his favor. I'm not entirely convinced they know he's back there.
They definitely don't. The Lems is coming in as well to provide some extra support in the piano. Wolves are going to struggle taking down the control. There's some verticality from below seems to be the solution. You have 2 sets of grenades to, well, try and find a player from below. Mowgli in a good opportunity to do so. But he's pushing up the white stairs instead, hoping to find the entry because they need that entry so desperately. Whenever BDS takes that, it is difficult to come back in it because they like to play that trade game, but they get it. Rise on Renshiro. Leak Effect now in a difficult position. The phone calls come through. He's being watched from 2 windows and below the stairs. Somehow escapes with his live as the Lems finds one before Mowgli trades out. 4v3, counting down. Mowgli gets picked up, back to 3. 80 seconds on the clock as Shinka falls. It's only up to P4 now in a 1v3 situation. Will he clutch it? No, he doesn't! BDS, they are going to the semis yet again. They are a successful team from Europe that missed out on the major in Berlin, and they find themselves back in the top 4.
Wolves fought so well throughout this year, so well throughout this season, and so well throughout these groups. But unfortunately, there is one French curse that is still real and still present and prevalent, which is that they cannot break their way out of a best-of-3, beaten by maybe the one team that has consistently taken them to the boards. However, if we talk of French curses, there is one more, and that is when BDS enter a major, EU often isn't. Now they are the only ones that can disprove that.
There was always going to be one team to come out on top here, one European team to continue down, according to the bracket. And it is going to be BDS. They set out the Berlin Major. They made some changes because they knew there was a change needed. And it worked out for now. But will it work out in the semis?
They're 2 teams that know each other very well. EU technically we're sending the best of our best. It's got to be. It was an EU versus EU showdown based on how things came together. And it is Wolves that won't be progressing any further. But as we said, they're a team that has shown so much growth. They're one of the only teams that's been able to go to every single major. And there is obviously still SI ahead of them. And that is going to be the one where they maybe finally find a way to break out from this curse.
Yeah, I mean, they again won't make it past the quarterfinals here. But you know what? If they make it past the quarters in SI, that'll be a hell of a revenge story coming in from Wolves. BDS, though, they will be the European team to carry our pride and to see if they can make it a back-to-back major win. Question is, will they?
I mean, that's entirely down to them. That's that sort of moment where now BDS, they've had a resurgence. We didn't have that name for a long time. We didn't have a team that we'd seen for a long time. Even, I would say, when these two teams were in the same group in Charlotte and there was a slightly different roster for BDS, it wasn't the same BDS that we're getting here. This is an energized team. This is a team that for the first time, I guess, didn't have all the expectations of before, and yet now maybe they're starting to.
That's the thing, right? BDS, they have made that change. We've mentioned it so many times before. It's just that, is it finally going to be connecting? They struggled in groups. They found themselves a very comfortable win here against Wolves. Comfortable between brackets, of course, but it's still a 2-0. They'll still be happy with that. Now, up to the next challenge.
Now, the next challenge is actually Ian Chambers.
Oh, the
He's
end
going
boss.
to have an interview with our victors. We'll throw to him.
Did you just call me the end boss? That's the biggest compliment I've ever had. I'm standing here on the stage with the Lems from BDS. Can we get a round of applause, please? Commiserations to Wolves, but what can you expect when two French rivals go head-to-head like that? That victory must be even sweeter for you.
Yes, I mean, Wolves is a great team. Like you said, there is a huge rivalry between them and us. We are playing the game since like 6 years. And we really wanted to have this fight in a major, in the best of 3, to see who's the best. I guess we are. Until next one.
You see, he's right though, right? We can only go off this result that we've just seen here and now. They did put up one heck of a fight in that second map. Did you ever feel like it might go to 3?
To be honest, since the addition of Stuflex is really put us in good situation, mental-wise, saying map by map, round by round. So when we were playing the first map, we didn't think about the two others. Where we were playing the second map, we didn't think about the first one or the third that we could play. Yeah. So we are full focus on this map. And yeah, they surprised us a lot in Kafe. But I think we have the most experience in this map. That's why we picked it. And we managed to take the win.
Talking about additions, let's talk about Efak. Coming in at this stage, how much of an impact has he had?
Of course, he got a very huge impact. So, just for you to know, he's helping me a lot, IGL-wise. He's doing a lot of work on that side. So I'm a little bit in the back right now regarding IGLing, and it's good because it brings a lot of fresh ideas, young ideas, crazy ideas, and yeah, I think that's what we needed to bring a new dynamic to the team. And yes, like I'm so happy. Frag-wise is insane too, and like yeah, very good player, positive, everything.
There's definitely a new dynamic, and it feels like things are clicking. And it's probably a good time because many fans say that you are the greatest team to never lift a big trophy here in Siege. Does that come with its pressure? When you come into these tournaments, do you feel like that's on your back a little bit?
To be honest, we spent 2 years playing, going to every single majors, and we always had a lot of pressure on us because people were expecting a lot from us. Like they were saying, like BDS will win, they have to win. Oh, not this one, but maybe the next one. Right now, we just did a change, like a roster change. We just came here with the mentality of doing our best, and we didn't expect anything. We got like kind of lucky to get out of groups because SSG is a very great team, and they like pull out a great fight in the group stage, and so W7M. So we are happy, but now we think a bit like we are not supposed to be here, so let's just have fun and play Rainbow Six Siege.
It shows, and we're thoroughly enjoying watching you have fun out there. TSM or Sonics, that will be our final quarter-final here on Playday 1. which team would you rather face in the semi-finals?
To be honest, we don't have any preferences. Just the best team.
All right, we've got plenty of French fans here and, of course, watching at home as well. Anything you would like to say to your French supporters, and feel free to do it in French.
Ok, donc merci à tous ceux qui nous soutiennent. Ça fait vraiment plaisir, les gars. Voilà, comme je l'ai dit, on allait être beaucoup plus fort en playoff. On devait de toute façon être beaucoup plus fort. Donc aussi, ça c'est grâce à vous. Merci à tous ceux qui nous soutiennent, à tous ceux qui nous envoient des messages, qui suivent toutes nos stories, etc. Merci beaucoup. On vous fait plein de bisous. Et puis voilà, merci beaucoup.
One more time for Alems, please. Congratulations. And good luck in the semi-finals.
Thank you.
Now, on the desk, Milos keeps calling me Steve. It's a behind-the-scenes joke. My name is, of course, actually Ian. But I do have a question for you. I'm going to call him Phil. Phil, are we ever going to go to 3 maps?
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes, we're back on the analyst desk, and we continue on with the inside joke that not everybody knows about, which makes it very relevant. BDS are taking it for this matchup. They crown themselves as now the #1 team in Europe. Funnily enough, for those that didn't watch Stage 3 of EU League, come on, should be. But they were tied 19 points, both Wolves and BDS, and this was the divider. It was 7-4, 7-5 to end the whole series. Of course, on the analyst desk with me are Anne and Alfama. We're going to discuss this BDS massive victory, Anne.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the history of this matchup between these two teams in EOL, we kind of knew it was maybe going to lead a little bit into the favor of BDS, but they came out really strong. And a few things, like one thing that I saw as a pattern over both these maps is that BDS is extremely flexible on their defense. On these 2 maps, Kafe and Oregon, they played all defensive sides. And that's not something we see a lot, because you're giving away a lot of your strategies, and you're giving away a lot of the way of how you play. So they're very flexible with that.
Yeah,
that's a really good thing.
I don't think they're calculating much. I think that actually right now, they are going into this without pressure, just like LM said. I think they're lucky. They feel to seem lucky that they've gotten out of Group of Death. I think they actually deserve that. And maybe was it the missing factor, you know, the fact that they have no pressure anymore, the fact that they have a rookie with them, and that maybe people don't expect as much from them.
In the end, you're still BDS. Everybody expects a lot from you. And it looked here that, yes, the score was tight, but I'm trying to process, was the game actually as close as the score is saying?
I think the first few rounds definitely were. Wolves were showing a little bit more of that playmaking that we were so wanting to see from them, specifically round 7. P4 walked up the white stairs, contested a lot of control there, got a quad kill as well, and that was actually something that I really wanted to see more from them. We've seen them have good positions in Christmas as well when it came down to the kitchen drop from BDS. We saw them have good positioning on diffusers and everything. It's just unfortunate that it didn't really go their way eventually. We saw them being very flexible. One thing that may have to do with it as well, unfortunately, if you look at the side of Mowgli, a 0% survival rate as a fragger is not something you're looking for.
That kind of hurts.
Yeah, I think the problem is for him, he's an amazing player, but right now he's been so used in sub-top to be so good mechanically wise that he could take unfavorable gunfights and always win them. But then when you come to the best stages and best teams in the world, then it's harder to decide, you know, are you going to go and win that gunfight, even though you've got like a 20% chance to win it, right? And I think it's a learning process for Mowgli. He's only been playing at the top level for a year. I think he's got plenty of experience next to him to teach him that. It's just a matter now of learning really when to take those opening engagements and win them.
And when you talk about gunfights and taking them, there was one player on the side of BDS, Shaiko, that was taking them with so much confidence. He was peeking. I remember this one round where he was stood in bar or in piano, and he was peeking towards cocktail, towards freezer, towards top white stairs, and no one would contest him. It even was maybe a little bit of overconfidence that we talked about when he walked up into the white hallway and meleeed the bulletproof chem, eventually died as well. But that's just so much confidence, and also really knowing when to take a gunfight and when not.
He's our MVP for this game. Who would have believed it? Who would have thunk it? But here is 27-14 in this 2-map series. Takes it all. It's pretty important with those 7 entry kills in 2 maps. It's really opened things up for BDS.
I mean, BDS is looking extremely scary with this new lineup, right? I think Likefak was the perfect plug and play, and he was one of the hottest French prospects they could have had, right? But the guy has everything they need. he brought not only a fragging potential that's huge, but also comms, energy, new vision, all this stuff that revamped the roster and put them in a new direction, also aligned with the new meta.
You heard Elem say it in the interview, right? He's helping him with the IGLing, helping him with bringing up those fresh ideas, getting those playmaking moments in that we would so want to see from Wolves, but are now seeing from BDS. So it's a really good change for them. People have been saying, oh, BDS, they need to win a major. This is their time. I'm not trying to jinx them here, but maybe this is their time.
Well, will we get a map 3 today is the question on my mind, because so far we've gone through 3 series, and here's what they all look like in our bracket update. We saw it first, W7M went up against Black Dragons, and well, W7M, their experience is in comparison to the other new kids on the block, well, that wins it out. Liquid took down FaZe Clan, also a 2-0 handily for Team Liquid. Now, BDS crowned themselves as the #1 team in Europe, especially since we're counting this as being a LAN event for it all. Well, now they're set in the semifinals. We've guaranteed an EU team, not too bad. But you know what? We're also guaranteed another NA team in the semifinals. Sorry, APAC, you don't get the 4th spot, but that's kind of how it works. But it's Sonic versus TSM. And just to tease it here, because these are the top 2 teams of the region. And you two will be here with me on the desk to discuss it in just a moment. But how are you feeling this one will go? Because LMs, every big team, every big player will say, oh, I don't really care who I'm playing against as long as the big team. But is that the reality of it?
I mean, TSM is still the first seed from NA, so one could think, you know, they're the favorites here. I think it's a bit different than that, right? If you look at the group stage, TSM barely made it out.
Yeah.
Sonics was the first one, and by far. So I think it's a bit different here. I think they're going to be on stage. They've got new players, first time on stage too. So lots of factors to take in, and I'm really excited to see who's the best.
Which of TSM or Sonics could beat BDS in your mind then?
Ooh.
Putting you on the spot, sorry for that, but...
I'd like to see a team like TSM do it, also with the young players coming in. It would be the young and new ideas against the young and new ideas. I'd like it.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of newcomers that are coming in. We're going to discuss that in just a moment once we go into our All-NA matchup. Thank you very much, FMI, and it'll be time for All-NA again. Sonics versus TSM after the break.